Hey, yo, what it do, what it do? It's your boy Q, and welcome on into our inaugural Skillquest Spring Classroom Clash here, presented by NASIF, powered by League OS. We've had 128 students nationwide who have been learning to code with Python here for the course of the semester, a couple of months, and now it's time to figure it out how good they have been able to program these bots together out on the pitch, put their work to the test, I guess you could say. And I'm really excited to help bring all of your action along the way. As I mentioned earlier, I am your boy Q, and if it's your first time through, by the way, what up? Make sure you smack that follow button down below. We do have plenty of scholastic esports action over on the channel over the course of the summer. Over the course of the semester. But as I did mention, we had 128 students working on these bots here. They were basically put into 16 groups of 8. The top bot from each group has advanced now into where we're at now as the top 16. We'll be hanging on a little bit of our bracket play here to start. Then we will have both of our semifinals matchups on screen, and then we will have our grand finals at the end. You can see there on your stream or on your screen now as far as the different names across of all of our bots. I think some of them may have been renamed from the fall. We also have, of course, some that are obviously here just fresh in from the spring as well. Again, we've had students from across the nation who are looking to test their mettle here today. These 16 bots should be a whole heck of a lot of fun. I know we were getting to peep in a little bit on what these bots are able to do, and I'm really excited to get on into it because I think the big thing that is to keep in mind is they're basically working on taking inputs coming in from the game itself, right? So our first matchup that is going to be on stream here, JoeBot 4 versus MasonBot. We'll be jumping into that here in just a moment, but just to kind of keep in mind what Skillquest is it teaches gamers how to code by building engaging courses using their favorite games. Too many people lose out on their lucrative careers in tech because the education is like boring, costly, and accessible. Skillquest keeps courses where learners are engaged because they're built around gaming, right? Something that they really love. So that's what we're here to do. Checking them out on the pitch here in a game of Rocket League. Hope you guys are as excited as I am. Again, we are going to be heading onto the pitch here. Will be best of 3s here throughout the course of the day until that grand finals where we will be seeing a best of 5. So let's go ahead and get on down into it. It'll be JoeBot over on the blue side of the pitch, MasonBot on the orange side, and kickoffs are always interesting to see how they approach here. We'll be kind of keeping an eye over the course of the day. Again, keeping in mind that it's really all about what these bots are getting inputs in from the field. Are they prioritizing more of a defensive sort of rotation, or are they wanting to play a little bit more aggressive? We had even noticed as far as from JoeBot there, right? Like won the kickoff, had moved the ball into the orange half, but I think since didn't have the possession of the ball, did retreat all the way back to the goal. So it looked like this time around was keeping some pressure on that offensive side. Now we'll look to go on to the attack, and seems like JoeBot doing a really good job of being able to keep the control of the possession here, and that will be moving towards the net. Ball's going to be right on that goal line. Should be goal number 1, but a swing and a miss. Unfortunate. Felt like there was a chance for us to see our first goal here on the day. First minute gone by, and while JoeBot 4 most certainly has had a majority of the pressure, what matters is being able to find a way to punch it across, and MasonBot is going to be the first one to be able to find the lace. It's a simple input from deep inside their territory, and if we're being honest, kind of a friendly roll, has just enough English because even the bot misses the follow-up, but because of the roll up the wall, that English behind it there ends up crossing the goal line. First one on the board. See this time around the kick a little cleaner here now, and MasonBot seeming to be on a roll. I thought there was going to be a chance for a second goal there. Does end up bringing off of the post. Sitting on that right side. Oh, if MasonBot had been able to pick that thing up on that right side, would have had some space to work with out on the field. Okay, hold on a second. MasonBot taken to the sky, working on some aerials as well. to see the work that has been put in by our students. First time we've seen our bot trying to take to the sky. He'll do a great job with the 50 here as well as our Mason bot, and we'll try to find the adjustment touch. Is it needed off of the wall? Yes, it is, and able to find the slightest of touches as Mason bot will now go up 2-0. One thing to keep in mind as we do go throughout the course of the day, right? Like our students had the ability to have, whether it be prioritizing defensive strategies or prioritizing playing a little more aggressive. It feels like JoeBot was designed to be a little bit more of a defensive bot, but I haven't really seen it have a chance to be able to create a counterattack. Like even here, right? The ball was deep inside of their possession and unfortunately loses tracking on it. Luckily for JoeBot, MasonBot ends up burying it deep inside the corner because the net was wide open. There's an opportunity here, but as that ball rolls just off of that tricky corner by the post, it sends it upfield. JoeBot able to pick it up, and it's a sniper shot from distance. That one there will allow for JoeBot to take this lead and cut it now. 2:24 left on the clock here. There's still time as far as for JoeBot to figure things out. Feels like these, let's say, kickoffs have gotten cleaner. But hold on a moment. Wait. What? Okay, so MasonBot leaves it off of their backboard, and I think JoeBot was just simply trying to scream back to defense. Knew the ball was up in the air. I don't think it was able to differentiate that it was towards their net and they were on the wrong side of it. That is unfortunate. Ends up adding a point onto the scoreboard here for MasonBot. 2-goal lead with 2:05 left to play. It's worth noting too, it feels like, again, when we think about the approach from our students here, it feels like MasonBot has found a way to play a little bit faster than what JoeBot seems to be programmed to play. We've seen that one as far as just boost use itself. It feels like most of the time when MasonBot gets boost, it uses it. However, when you watch JoeBot, it's really only using their boost when they're going up into the sky. Otherwise, kind of just holding the gas and holding forward and just trying to run into the ball. 19 left to play. JoeBot tries to send one down deep into the orange half, but MasonBot gets just enough and rocking the donuts here on this side. Leaves the net wide open for JoeBot. Curious what happens here. If it's because the ball very deep enough and away from MasonBot that it recognizes the ball is coming towards it and tries to turn around, but it does turn around too fast. I'm kind of curious what's causing it to do that circle. That's definitely interesting here. Minute though left for JoeBot to be able to equalize things here. Problem though is MasonBot gets it going towards JoeBot's goal. And that's now technically 2 own goals from JoeBot here, our 8th seed. Guess we could talk about it technically being an upset, but I mean 8 versus 9, even when you think about like March Madness, which is happened not too long ago, like the 8 versus 9 seed, like is that really considered an upset? I'm not really too sure. Chat, we gotta have a conversation. An unfortunate touch here again. It's MasonBot who leaves it in front of the blue net. And JoeBot, I think, realizing that a ball is in front of their net, rises up to make contact, but unfortunately is on the wrong side of it. But ends up sending that ball towards the net, puts it right in the back of the lace. I mean, hey, credit where credit's due. JoeBot has been drilling them in the back of their own net. It's just been unfortunate that it has been into the back of their own net. Maybe a chance here to advance this up into the orange side. It does have plenty of space, but oh, that shot will ring just off of the post. I think we've seen, as far as over the course of the first 5 minutes. I just feel like MasonBot does do a much better job of being able to control the pace and the tempo out on the pitch. They've spent quite a bit of time down here on the blue half. And even if they're not necessarily the one that's shooting it, is the blue goal. But JoeBot will get one more for the road. This is one of those goals that if we were talking about, the students themselves playing, saying that this could be a good motivator, sort of momentum build-up goal. I'm not sure how much that works in this case, though. Last 2 seconds on the clock here in game number 1. Kickoff complete. It is official. MasonBot does put themselves onto series point. 5 shots, 5 goals. And if you're sitting there wondering, how does MasonBot have 5 shots, 5 goals, while JoeBot also has a save? We did see those pair of own goals, which was just very unfortunate. Again, keeping in mind that when the players are starting the course, right, they have no understanding as far as programming, and what you have to figure out over the course of the semester is learning the coding concepts and starting, essentially, because the bots start with no programming at all, right? And the very first step is learning how to get the bot to drive forward. We've seen the bots have been able to do that. But from there, it's being able to take the data that has been given it to the bot from the game, such as like where the ball position is, where the opponent is, what direction the ball is going, the velocity, what boosts are up, stuff like that. And that kind of allows for the bot to make a decision from there. It feels like, at least from what we've seen thus far, both bots have been doing a great job of being able to collect boost. However, we have seen one bot do a much better job of being able to utilize that boost, especially in an offensive sort of position, to be able to work towards the net. So not sure as far as how usually, let's say in a traditional game of Rocket League, we talk about adjustments being made in the break. Not exactly sure how that's done here. I think it's just more about how do things happen to play out as the ball hits the pitch here, and we start back on an even playing field at 0-0, but it will be MasonBot, and look at that, going for the aerial. I like it. End up sending the ball towards the net, but it is wide and across. Let's have the ball right in front this time around, as it technically just tinks off of the post. But unfortunately, MasonBot not able to dial in and hit the lace, so now JoeBot will get a chance going the opposite direction here. And I think what's worth noting, it feels like actually both bots in a similar sort of fashion. It feels like more struggle on the defensive side, retrieving the ball off of the back wall. It's one thing when MasonBot is down here on the blue half and fields it and goes across. We've seen there, right, like twice where they've left it, and unfortunately JoeBot decides to attack their own net. But it feels like both bots struggling when it comes to being able to advance the ball from one side up to the other. It's part of the reason JoeBot has been caught back in their half for quite a bit. MasonBot has been able to keep constant pressure down on this side. And I mean, look at just the precision here, right? The slightest of touches puts it over the defender. And MasonBot will be in the driver's seat once more. I think that should be an angle, right? Yeah, there it is. MasonBot able to very quickly take the 1-goal lead and double it down. It takes it towards the side, and it finds the angle just a nose ahead of JoeBot. And while JoeBot might have been able to collect some boost and tries to use it, just can't get there in time. Keep in mind, MasonBot did win game number 1. They could hold on here for this last 3:30. Could indeed be continuing to advance through this bracket here. Talk about a game of Rocket League, however. 3 minutes and 20 seconds is plenty of time. JoeBot, that's a nice shot, but my friend, that's towards your net. Luckily, that's off of the post here, and now there's a chance for them to go the opposite way. I like it. And hey, you know what? It's only fair, since JoeBot has hooked MasonBot up with a couple of them, Well, I guess you get one in return here. It's Mason Bot trying to scream up the middle of the pitch. I can even tell you, I've seen actual players make that mistake in my ranked games. You try to speed flip, or even just flip in general to get up the pitch. You end up hitting the ball right into your own net. Here's Mason Bot, though, going to be able to retrieve this one off of the kickoff. And gets that one right back. Just when it looked like there was a chance for Joe Bot 4 to maybe be able to tie things up. It's a kickoff play for Mason Bot, and they're back in the lead by 2. 2 minutes and 59 seconds left to play here. Oh, and that's going to be big. No gas in the tank for Joe Bot. Going to be able to get in front of it. But you can see Joe Bot tries to flip in front of it, then tries to turn. Ends up turning the wrong direction, so their tail end ends up leaving that backside of the post exposed. Mason Bot able to put that thing on the money. And it's now 4-1, and it feels like game number 2 starting to get out of hand. I think this is going to be number 5. Yeah, it is a number 5. It feels like the floodgates are starting to open. And I'm curious what changes in a game like this compared to the first, right? Where it was a little slower for Mason Bot to start to figure things out. Because, again, keeping in mind, these bots are programmed to be able to utilize the data that's fed to them from the game, right? Where is your opponent at? What speed are they, coming in at? What speed is the ball rolling at? Where is the ball on the pitch? What boosts are available? Where's the goal at in accordance to your car? But I don't see how it would change the dynamic of the game where it feels like here in game number 2, Mason Bot has had so much more control. And it feels like Joe Bot's defense has started to become absent here. This time around, just caught doing a lap on the backside of the field. Meanwhile, Mason Bot just gets this one for free. It's 2 minutes and 10 seconds left, and if Mason Bot is able to find another one, but send us off to warmer lands and off to Brazil. I'll tell you what, I think seeing the difference in speed of the two bots is definitely intriguing. Because we've seen Joe Bot starting to take to the sky at times. So obviously has spent time being able to develop the coding to be able to deal with the inputs of going up. But Mason Bot has mostly been able to abuse their speed to be able to get good looks towards the net. This time around, though, slow and steady wins the race for Joe Bot. They're going to need to find 4 more, and they're going to have to hold the line, though, just to force an overtime. Kickoff gets a little awkward as Mason Bot will retreat back to their defensive corner. Oh, leaves an interesting pass for Joe Bot, and just when it looked like maybe was going to be able to turn 2 into 3, it rings just a tad bit wide. Now it's Joe Bot looking to flip the script and flip the pitch. The big clear, big shot as well. It rings off of the post, and it has just enough to continue rolling forward. The punch across the goal line. Still a 3-goal lead for Mason Bot, though, so surely our student gotta be feeling pretty confident heading down the home stretch here. Feels like they've been able to formulate a pretty strong bot here. We've seen them again. They've been playing quite a bit faster than Joe Bot. We've seen them a couple times try to take to the sky. We've seen a couple of decent dribbles. Curious to see who else has been able to develop as far as aerial type game, but don't count Joe Bot out just quite yet. That was an open net opportunity, and they've now found a way to take this lead and cut it down to 2 in 42 seconds. I mean, a goal every 20 seconds is most definitely doable. It really does start with the kickoff, and it will be Mason Bot who's going to be able to get the control of this one. While they won't necessarily threaten the net, bringing it from one side of the screen towards the other, they are wasting time. However, JoeBot takes it down to the other side of the field, and we got ourselves a ball game, folks. He had mentioned how it felt like JoeBot had been really programmed for a strong defense. Well, we've seen a few times. I'm not sure where the defense has been out for Mason Bot. They lose possession, and then that bot's still stuck down on the offensive side. And you do got to take into consideration, you have to be comfortable, or your bot, I should say, has to be comfortable on both sides. It's a deep shot. Is that in? Oh, it rings off wide. And with 3 seconds left, I don't think they can chase it down. It was a valiant effort from JoeBot. Unfortunately, though, it will fall just a tad bit short. Mason Bot will be advancing forward with a sweep here. That 1-goal victory in game number 2, though, I'm sure what had that student sweating just a little bit. I mean, JoeBot was, again, just slow and steady. 5 goals off of 5 shots. Consistency, efficiency. But it was the faster play from Mason Bot that did end up reigning supreme. So congratulations to them for advancing forward here. We still do have some more first round stage action that will be heading your guys' way. I think we're going to go ahead and actually send things off to a quick break, though, while we do set up that second matchup for y'all. We'll be back here in about 2 or 3 minutes, so maybe grab yourselves a quick drink, grab yourself a snack, but don't tune away. We'll be back with some more action here, some more best of 3 right on the other side of this break. And we are back as we continue moving forward here, our NASEF event. I'm so excited that you guys are back in with us at our inaugural Skillquest Spring Classroom Clash, presented by NASEF, powered by League OS. We just had our first matchup on the board, and man, I'll tell you what, I thought there was a chance in that second game. I thought JoeBot was about to come back and have an ability to force an overtime. So definitely intriguing. It did feel like, as far as for JoeBot, was able to do a really good job on the counterattack due to the fact that it was kind of like designed more for that defensive sort of setup. So we'll keep an eye on that moving forward into future rounds and see if that will continue to be, or sorry, not JoeBot. I just realized I had that backwards. For Mason Bot, since they were the team that won, they won using their speed. We'll see if they can continue being the faster bot that is out onto the pitch. But of course, we'll be a little bit till we see them. We got to continue moving forward. As far as with some more of our bracket action, we got Star Dreamer versus Jeffrey Bot. Again, keeping in mind, these are best of 3s here. Feels like game number 1 in that last series was a pretty good indicator as far as how the rest of the series will go. We'll have to keep an eye on this one and see if it ends up being the same. Let's go ahead and take to the pitch and get on down into it. Ain't no more time to talk about it. It is indeed time to be about it. Will be Star Dreamer over on the blue half of the pitch. Jeffrey Bot on the orange side. It's an I was going to say an easy goal to follow up on off of the kickoff, but that ball bounces just a tad bit high. Oh, and I thought Star Dreamer was going to have a chance with a counterattack. Overshoots it a bit, but ends up being the first one back to the ball once again. Doesn't take Star Dreamer long. 17 seconds. They'll be on the board first. Feels like both of these bots that we have seen trying to move fast. We have seen both bots, though, when the ball's in the air, undershoot it by not really having much time up in the sky. I do feel like that is one thing that we could give credit to JoeBot from that last matchup. We had seen them a couple of times go up in the sky and be comfortable. Star Dreamer will look to do that here. Takes it up off of the backboard. Problem, though, is they put it into play here for Jeffrey Bot, who now have the ability to go the opposite way, but we have seen both players do. Unfortunately, ends up running right up under that ball. Here's Star Dreamer, though, off of the sidewall. Does have some room to work with. Unfortunately, not much gas to work with, though. That will be an angle, and Star Dreamer will be able to find a second. Fortunately, when we see Jeffrey Botstein go up onto the wall there, just allowing too much space. The ball gets past and ends up paying the price. Oh, and another swing and a miss from Jeffrey Bot. It feels like Jeffrey Bot playing a little fast. I think anybody who's, whether it's started Rocket League recently or has had a friend start Rocket League, like we've all been there, right? You think you're coming in at the right angle. We see is under the ball perfectly, so has a good read on it. It's just unfortunately when the ball gets up in the sky and it starts to lose some of that velocity because it's kind of hanging in the air. Feels like Jeffrey Bot loses an ability to continue to track it down. Star Dreamer, though, has been doing a really good job of utilizing the sidewall to flip the pressure of the field a couple of times. This time around also finding that narrow angle from the short corner, and it's now a third goal from Star Dreamer. It looked like Jeffrey Bot there prioritizing boost over ball. If I had to guess, is programmed to try and collect boost up to try and be able to wait until that ball is pressuring the net, but unfortunately the ball was already too close to their own net and didn't turn around in time. And again, it's Jeffrey Bot overrunning this ball. Able to play fast here, does get control of it and will be able to flip the pitch, takes control of it off of the sidewall. Seems like both of these two bots, though, are more trying to keep control of the possession simply with the ball on the nose. So, again, we've seen whether the ball takes to the sky or whether it rolls off of their nose when they are on the sidewall or things like that. It does take a minute for the bot to be able to recalibrate and be able to continue the attack. I thought there was a chance there for Jeffrey Botstein, but unfortunately, ends up just leaving it in the middle of the field. Star Dreamer goes coast to coast with it, but ends up shooting it just a tad bit wide. Here's a chance, and just as we have seen Jeffrey Bot do, Star Dreamer does the same. I mean, it's tracking perfectly, but unfortunately, man, when that ball bounces, it just doesn't seem to have been coded in the sense to try and jump. It just tries to get control of it under the ball. And unfortunately, when it bounces, both of these bots struggling to be able to find control. Will be Jeffrey Botstein, though, who will be able to take it towards the sidewall in transition. That's going to be passed to themselves off of the back wall, but unfortunately can't find the angle in time. Star Dreamer struggling to be able to find their way out of their own goal. Will be able to eventually find it and does have open field. Seems like Star Dreamer not quite calibrated to be able to find the angle from deep inside their territory, like at either one of their corners. It feels like overcompensating and ends up finding that wide shot just a little bit. Star Dreamer picks it up, gathers, and that's number 4, and it feels like if it wasn't already over, that one there has to be a nice security blanket goal for Star Dreamer. Exciting to see the difference in the bots, I think. You know, again, keeping in mind for these students, when they get into the program, most of them don't have like coding and programming background, as we do see Jeffrey Bot going to be able to find one, pops it up over Star Dreamer right off the kickoff, as they'll be able to at least find their first. By the time that like a bot is submitted, the player will have gone from like 0 to skilled in Python, one of the world's most valuable programming languages. Like over 40% of new code is written in Python, so knowing the language is a good like foundation skill for careers like say like software engineering, data science, machine learning, cybersecurity, stuff like that. So I know people may be wondering like what's the translation of like programming a bot into Rocket League, but the coding is used by I mean devices everywhere across the world, right? As we do see Star Dreamer now going to be able to find a fifth. This one's simple, quick turnaround. I feel like Star Dreamer does a really good job of being able to collect these things up on the 180. But remember, especially like in today's age, right? Like coding is used everywhere. Like programmers use code like on every device, from like consumer electronics to like, you know, computers, cameras, software, websites, applications. So these students are learning a very important foundation depending on where they want to go from there. But it will be Star Dreamer who does take game number 1 by a score of 5-1. And it's funny because I felt like in that last game we had seen both bots being able to find a decent share of offense. Whereas it does feel like in this matchup, Star Dreamer is doing a much better job of being able to control the pace of the game. Of course, we did see, I guess you could say the similar thing for Joe. I felt like they had lost game number 1 by a larger margin, was able to bring things back in game number 2. Remember, they almost were able to force a game number 2. So there is still a chance for that to happen here in our game number 2 here. But it's definitely interesting because it's not one of those situations where you're talking about having a conversation about mental in between games after a 5-1 loss, right? It's just about simply lining back up on the field and seeing how things play. So I guess that's what we ought to do here, chat. Run things back. The good news is it doesn't matter. You win by 1, you win by 5. It's like the same thing on the series result, you know? First series in the day was a sweep. We'll see if Jeffrey Botstein? It's Frankenstein. As we do get off to game number 2. Feels like Star Dreamer has been programmed really well to be able to keep themselves relatively close to the ball. Well, again, we've seen them do a good job with that 180 that we just saw there to be able to turn around, get control of the ball, and take it the opposite way. One thing that is interesting, though, and I mentioned it earlier in game number 1, it feels like Star Dreamer, when it gets possession of the ball deep in their own territory, if it's trying to go from like their back left to like center it up, ends up pulling to the far right, and same thing from the right to left. But we've seen Star Dreamer be able to take possession of the ball deep inside, let's say, the orange territory, and able to cut the right angle and put it right in the net. It's intriguing to see how that works out there. I think Jeffrey Botstein is now done doing their donuts down on the blue side of the field, now has the possession. The opportunity to find an early goal here, however, left it in the middle of the field. There's a chance for Star Dreamer to go the opposite way. Imagine it makes the play off of the ceiling. Would have been kind of insane. Instead, ends up driving right under it. But we've said before, it does a great job with these 180s, but this time it gets assistance from Jeffrey Botstein, as it's technically an own goal, but Star Dreamer will be the first one on the board once more. Golf comes across. Jeffrey Botstein seems to win these bot kickoffs. Unironically of the term, but you know, when they're straight on in. Feels like Jeffrey Bot's been winning them, has been able to put it up over Star Dreamer every time. Just unfortunately hasn't quite found the input to be able to follow that up with a shot on target. Here's Star Dreamer though, looking to pick it up. And again, watch this. Oh, no, not even gonna have to watch. I was gonna say it was taking it from deep to the right side. I was curious to see if it ended up putting it on target. Jeffrey Botstein actually chases it down. Is it back and will eventually find a shot on the target, but now here, Star Dreamer, he doesn't have to cut it very, very wide. Should have been able to put it on. Jeffrey Bot chases it down and sends it aside. Feels like a whole different game here in game number 2. We're midway through. It's only the one goal thus far here out on the pitch. An awkward touch, though. It's going to be leaving it right in front of the blue net. The good news for a Star... No. You saw the bot come from right to left in your screen. Unfortunately, though, Star Dreamer does eventually end up taking up off of the back wall, and it feels like we've seen, I would say, all 4 of our bots thus far. When it pushes the possession all the way into the opposition's back wall, it struggles to find the net. Again, keep in mind that these bots are coded off of the inputs from the game, so it's trying to find where the net is at in coordination to like where the bot is as well as where the ball is. So when the ball's like all the way over here in the corner, I can definitely understand why it almost just kind of does that east to west coast driving. Star Dreamer, coast to coast. This time, though, doesn't overcut it. Just drives straight, which it feels like so different from what we've seen the other times. I'm kind of intrigued what was different on the input there for it to not cut at all. It just felt like it was trying to drive straight and thought that would have done it justice. Ends up not being the case, though, and now with 65 seconds left on the clock, it's still a 1-goal game, so Jeffrey Bot does have the ability to tie things up. Up the side wall they go. Unfortunately, no gas in the tank. To be fair, neither does Star Dreamer have any gas in the tank, but both of these 2 bots just kind of shadowing this thing. Hold on, it's just a tad bit wide. I thought there was going to be a chance off of the rebound. But instead, no dice. There is a chance, though. Hold on. Can't quite field it. And now Star Dreamer is going to find a big clear. Remember, for Star Dreamer, you've done the hard part. You put yourself in the lead. Now you've just got to hold the line in every clear, even if it's just 5, 7, 11 seconds. It's time off the clock. Thought maybe Jeffrey Botstein was going to be able to find it there, but now trying to make the read off of the ceiling. Hold on. Somehow finds a way to stick the landing as it jumps off of the backboard. First things first, gets 4 tires on the ground. Good news for it was that Star Dreamer had overshot its read. Just gave it the time to bounce, then forced Jeffrey to be able to find it. Pushed it to the back of the net. So that does mean here in game number 2, we do get in overtime. 1 shot is all it takes for us to see a game number 3. Especially if you can win this one. Jeffrey Botstein, we've been saying, wins a lot of these kickoffs when they're heads up. Oh, but that one's off target. And now it's Jeffrey Botstein looking to chase this one down, sends it towards the corner. Now does have some space in front of him. Oh, gets a little bumper check, though. Star Dreamer retreats back, gets the big pad first. Where are you going, my guy? It's along the back wall. Oh, and it almost finds the angle. It's just off the post. Hey, Star Dreamer, that's the wrong goal. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. It's all good, Jack. Chance off of the ceiling. Not going to be able to find the pinch, but the 4 wheels are right behind it. But we've mentioned ad nauseum, both of these 2 bots seem to have a problem of overshooting these balls whenever they are bouncing, and it happens there. It slows down the transition play for Star Dreamer, but Star Dreamer does eventually end up securing the big boost. If it can get behind this one, it does have the boost advantage and should be able to put it into the back of the net, but it just can't get the control. Sends it to the opposite corner. We're now 85 seconds into this thing. It feels like Star Dreamer knocking on the door. Oh, this time again, it's just right under the ball. Take it to the far side wall. Hit me with an aerial. Let me see it. What are we doing, chat? If we see one of these bots hit an aerial goal, I feel like we got to figure out like a special celebration. I don't know. Let me get to your guys' suggestions in chat. For now, though, 2 minutes gone by. Star Dreamer looking to get the possession. They are deep inside their own territory. Jeffrey Botstein ends up bumping them first. It ends up leaving the ball towards the middle, but since Star Dreamer seems to be programmed to be so close to the ball, especially when they're inside that opposition's half, it just seems to not be able to, as it's coming across the pitch, be able to scoop the ball up to be able to turn. And again, I think part of that is because the ball is programmed once it has the ball set on a basic dribble, maybe not on the sense of where it's on the hood, but it's in front of the hood. It's just designed to continue rolling forward. And unfortunately, anybody who knows that, who has played enough Rocket League knows that as much as a ball might be round, it doesn't necessarily roll forward perfectly the way you would like it to. So 3 minutes gone by, though, here in overtime, as it will be Star Dreamer. As it deep inside this orange half once more, but again, it's bot ends up bringing it off the backboard. Struggles to find a way to make the adjustment. This could be huge, though. It finds a bump. Oh, but that gives enough space. Wait, big boost. Can you get to it before it ends up shooting wide? No, and that is unfortunate. Now Star Dreamer will bring it all the way back to their side for possession. I like the idea. We'll give it an A for the idea, A for effort. Unfortunately, the execution just not quite there. And now it is Star Dreamer who is stuck deep inside their half. Gotta find a way to get to this one. Overshoots it. Oh, it's in a tough spot. Where's Jeffrey Bott at? It was all the way back at that midfield line. I think was trying to prioritize boost, which was unfortunate. All they needed to do was drive into the ball. Star Dreamer missed it not once but twice, but then after that sat on the goal line. We're now 4 minutes and 20 seconds into this thing, and we are still all tied up at 1. That one will be deflected off the side, and it goes wide. And this just might have the angle. No, that one's wide. Here's Star Dreamer, though. Big clear, sends it towards the midfield. Should be able to track this one down. Has to make sure they don't overshoot it. Gets enough to make the adjustment. And while they may have played almost an entirety of another game's worth of time in overtime, no third game going to be required as Star Dreamer gets just enough of it. That second goal to trickle across the line. And there it is. Our second player advancing through will be Star Dreamer. We'll continue moving through as far as in our bracket play here. Big congrats out to them. It did look like this last time around, Jeffrey Botstein did a better job of being able to control the amount of pressure that Star Dreamer had, and kind of curious what variables were different at. I mean, I felt like the game pace was still similar. I guess sometimes it's just the way the cookie crumbles, I suppose. But 2 games in a row, 2 series in a row. That means we've got 2 sweeps in a row. 1 more game of bracket play. As this one, we will be moving on now into round number 2, as we do have some of our round 2 games having been finished. We're going to be moving on to match number 11, Try Hard Maybe 3 versus Beckett is Buns. I first read that as Bracket is Buns, and I was going to get a laugh out of the name. I'm not going to lie, but I don't think we need to take a break during this one. We got that one getting ready to load up here in just a moment. And again, remember, if it is your first time through over here on the Twitch channel, do me a favor and make sure you hit that follow button down below. Turn those notifications on. We actually are going to have another one of these events in a month. We'll talk more about that at the conclusion of things, as that will be the official finals there towards the end of May. And we're going to be moving now in towards that round of 8. Another best of 3. And it does actually look like we will need a moment to get things set up in the background, so we are going to send things off to a break. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Grab yourself a snack if you didn't on the last one. We'll be back on the other side with a little bit more of our inaugural Skillquest Spring Classroom Clash. We have our round number 2 action right after this. All right, and we are back. And as we mentioned, we're heading on into that round of 8 here. Now that we have eliminated our first 8 of our playoff bots, we're moving into our 8. And do keep in mind, while we've had 2 from round 1, we're going to have 1 from round 2. Those last 3 matchups that are right above my head here are all going to be on stream as well. Best of 3s here still for our next 3 matchups. Our next one up, Try Hard Maybe versus Beckett is Buns. Both of these 2 bots already 1-0. Both looked pretty dominant in the matchups that they had in their first round, as we do get continued moving forward. Again, we appreciate you guys for tuning in with us over here at our inaugural Skillquest Spring Classroom Clash, presented by NASEF, powered by League OS. Maybe we have 1 or 2 of y'all who have trickled your way on in and is like, what is NASEF? NASEF equips education, community, and industry leaders to maximize the potential of scholastic esports. As a nonprofit, NASEF supports leaders and youth to develop career and professional skills through a unique blend of play and learning. Hold on a second. Before I get to that, Beckett is Buns doesn't take too long. It's right up off of the kickoff, as they'll be able to find their first. And hold on, did it just back that thing on up to be able to find a first? It did indeed. That's some spicy programming right there to be able to deliver that one. But yeah, NASEF does use their research-backed approach. Guides organizations around the world striving to make impacts through scholastic esports. Try Hard Maybe now looking to find theirs. I thought Try Hard Maybe was about to hit a 180 and back that thing up as well. I was about to really wonder what we had going on our screens. But it will be Beckett is Buns who's able to pick the pockets. Now looks to go the opposite way with his going to be able to add a second. Runaway goal here for Beckett is Buns. But chat, why should you join NASEF? Well, it's free to join. When you sign up, you can access free curriculum, toolkits, competitions, and tournaments. There are opportunities for SEL, academic growth, career pathways, and collegiate scholarships as well, man. That's pretty awesome. One thing I love to see about the scholastic esports teams, I always wish they would have had something like this back when I was in school. I'll tell you what. It seems to continue to grow every year as well. Adding in cool STEM type projects like this too. Love to see it. First minute gone by. It's still Beckett is Buns with the 2 goals. Try Hard Maybe tries to scoop this up off the sidewall, but again, it seems like the tough angles is really tough for all of our bots to be able to find. But Beckett's Buns is going to be able to drive right on into this one, and it's a sniper shot from distance. This one does run the risk of getting out of hands here early. Cars run into one another. Get a Rule 1? I'm still waiting for a Rule 1. I was teased and told that we might see one from the bots. Haven't gotten one yet, at least. Try Hard Maybe trying to chase this one down, but similar to like we had seen both of our bots in that last matchup, when this ball bounces, Try Hard also has a problem, has a struggle of chasing it down. The good news for Beckett is Buns, while we haven't really seen how it operates when a ball is bouncing, for the most part, when it's had possession, the ball has stayed on the ground, and we've seen them now be able to pile in 4 into the back of the net. We're not even 2 minutes in. Interesting kickoff here as Almost feels like a little ritual. Both players kind of circling here, but it will be eventually try hard maybe. But it's going to be able to find a first. And is there a chance that maybe, just maybe, that could be the start of a comeback? Able to win the kickoff, will keep the pressure forward. Doesn't look like it. Does seem like this time around, Beckett is Buns is going to be able to at least send it towards the midfield line, but not going to be able to follow it up. Try hard maybe, going to be able to send one. It's on target. Only problem is it's the wrong target. It's their own goal. The good news, though, is able to chase it down. Finds a heck of a pinch, if we can be quite honest. Sends it deep inside Beckett's territory. Try hard maybe chases it down quicker. But unfortunately, all it really ends up doing is it's a centering pass here for Beckett as Buns, as now is going the opposite way. I think this is the first time we've seen either of these cars be able to chase down a ball that has bounced. Here's Buns, does it a second time, looks to put this one on to target, but it will be just a tad bit wide. There's a chance in transition here for try hard maybe. There it is, carries it right on across. That's now 2 unanswered goals, and thanks to the fact that there is still plenty of time, there's still a chance for try hard maybe to bring this thing on back and take game number 1. I mean, 2:07 is plenty of time when it comes to Rocket League. Important thing, though, is try hard maybe is going to need to continue to hold the clean sheet. We saw him just find the save there. But next up is you got to find a clear. Hold on, Beckett. I got to say, impressed with Beckett's ability to be able to find quality touches backing up into it. We saw it earlier. We see another one there. Sends the ball towards the net. And from there, it's the slightest of touches to be able to re-extend this lead to 3. Beckett is Buns, looking to field it the back wall, but it's off of their own opponent's back wall, which means now there's a chance for a counterattack the opposite way, but unfortunately for try hard maybe, just can't keep the control. I mean, they do have it still down here on this orange half. Can you cut the angle? No, not going to be able to get it there, and this is tough. The ball left in the middle of the field. Beckett, first one to it. All you got to do is put this one on goal. Beckett able to do that. Doesn't seem too Buns to me. And 20 seconds left, and at this point, with the deficit being 4, unless you were able to find some success off of the kickoff, I just don't know if I see it. Shot's going to be just a tad bit wide, and honestly, at this point, for Beckett as Buns, you're probably all right watching that, right? You'd rather just watch the clock burn its way out. Beckett as Buns, though, was all the way on the sidewall. Interesting is it's tracking on the way back. Like, I've definitely seen players rotate back like that in my ranked lobbies, but what's interesting is it has boost, and it doesn't use the boost to close the gap. We didn't see it try and pick up the big pad in the corner either. Kind of curious what that's all about. 50 seconds left, though. Find a relatively quick goal. I mean, 2 goals in 30 seconds is doable, but you need to be able to punch it home here and try hard maybe. Not going to be able to do it. Another whiffed here will leave it right around the midfield line. That will technically be a shot because it is towards the net, but nowhere near threatening. Try hard maybe going to be able to chase that one down and finds the save. Guys, the ball's on the other side of the field. There we go. Beckett is Buns. Now they're going to be able to chase it on down. Is that an angle? Yes, it is. It's now 7-3. What a shot here from Beckett as Buns. icing on the cake. Or maybe it's the cherry on top. I'm not exactly sure. And now I'm hungry. Love it. Anyways, game number 1 does go to Beckett's Buns by a score of 7-3. It felt like Beckett's Buns had a decent amount of the possession. Able to definitely find a majority of the shots. 7 of the 11 shots that came across in that last game did come from Beckett's Buns. Efficiency truly being key for both of these two bots. Rolls just seem to be working in Beckett's direction. And now, we'll see if there's yet another sweep on our hands. We had our second series of the day require an overtime. It almost looked like it wasn't going to be a sweep, but we've had 2 series, 4 games played. Now there's a chance for another one here to be ending in a sweep as well. It's, again, always intriguing to see the differences between games 1 and 2. But let's go ahead and run it back for good measures. Zeros on either side of the scoreboard. Let's go ahead and get down to it. As we do get started off with game number 2. Really want to see if what happens if Try Hard Maybe ends up finding a first goal. What happens if they're in the driver's seat? Because we did see Beckett's Buns had a lot of early pressure. Beckett's Buns almost puts that one in their own goal. They'll end up putting it wide. Beckett's Buns looking for a way to just gather the control. It's interesting seeing both bots in this corner buy the big boost, and neither one seems to be prioritizing. And actually, the more that I think about it, have we been seeing either of these bots really try prioritizing the big boosts? I don't think they have. This is an unfortunate touch from Beckett's Buns, though, as it ends up putting it towards their own net. And as we were talking about, I was wondering what happens when Try Hard Maybe takes the lead. It's going to be what happens here. Beckett's Buns find a response, though. That's going to be the next question. Try Hard Maybe. Retreat back to the defensive. Wait, that's not the defensive side. They're going to the offensive side and without the ball, which left the net open. But I guess you could say luckily enough here for Try Hard Maybe, Beckett's Buns wasn't able to seize the control, to be able to get the possession and go the opposite way with it. A chance here. But again, we've seen now at this point, what? This is bots 5 and 6, and it feels like every time they get deep inside the opposition's half, they bring it across and off the wall. It's just really tough to find that angle. I'll tell you what, though, if we do have a student in this bracket that has figured that one out, oh, probably going to be running away with things, at least from the way that we've seen thus far. We're halfway through game number 2, though, and it is Try Hard Maybe still with just the 1-goal lead. We'll send it to the opposite side wall. Try Hard Maybe will be able to find a clear here. Potentially, at least find it to the midfield line, and is going to be able to find a second touch. Tell you what, it is definitely a sight to see both of these bots continue to avoid the big boosts. But it will be Try Hard Maybe, who is going to be able to pick this thing on up. Pops to the sky. And while we've seen a lot of other bots struggle with tracking when they pop the ball up to be able to put it right back on the hood, big credits to our students here, because that student has been able to program that bot almost pixel perfect to put it right on their hood and carry it across the goal line. At least in that situation there, it's helped add to the 2-goal lead. unless Beckett is Buns is able to get back to their old goal-scoring ways, there's a chance that we could get our first game number 3. But of course, as I say that, I guess we can call it a caster's blessing, I suppose, as it will be Beckett is Buns who goes coast to coast and sneaks it just inside this near post. We do line up for another kickoff. We do invite y'all to join this unique Beyond the Game challenge in partnership with Skillquest, where you will create an AI autonomous bot for Rocket League. Free supplemental project-based learning for computer science will teach coding through Python, transforming your gaming passion into valuable software engineering skills. Again, this is what our students have been working on. We invite you guys, if you've got students at home, maybe you want a chance to be able to do this semester, definitely make sure you guys are getting involved. Are entering into our final minute of play here, though. Going towards Tryhard's goal. Hold on. Tryhard looking to chase this thing down. Oh, this is interesting. So, Tryhard maybe gets technically a first touch, and it looks like the bot was trying to send it towards the corner. Obviously doesn't really have like a missed input, but just doesn't quite get enough of the ball, and instead speeds it up enough where it's not able to get a second touch. That is going to be an own goal. And now with 51 seconds left, Beckett is Buns is the one to strike the back of the lace next. They could very well be looking to complete the sweep. Tryhard maybe will overshoot this one. Should be able to turn around and look to get an angle, but it will be off of the backboard. And here's a chance. If Beckett would have been able to field it and put it in the middle of the pitch, I think would have had a better chance of scoring first. Now it is both players looking to chase this thing down. Tryhard maybe. Awkward swing and miss. Oh, and I thought maybe that would be enough to leave the ball in front of the net for Beckett to be able to punch that one across, but as it turns out, may actually be Buns. That was a wide open net. And 2-1, off to overtime we go here in overtime game number 2. And the question becomes, can Beckett end things here in game 2? Tryhard maybe did have a 2-goal lead here in game number 2. Surrendered both of those goals late. Beckett is Buns, fields it off of the sidewall, picks it up. We don't see too many of these bots doing that. Now going to have to retreat back to the defense. Looks for the pinch. Can you find it? No, but it is an awkward awkward bounce off of their own backboard. There was a chance for Tryhard maybe to go the opposite way with it. Ends up being a tad bit wide. We're almost a minute into overtime here. Tryhard maybe swifty-wifty. Now does have space in front of him. Nice touch, but that second touch does cause them to lose the control. Gets a little off of their hood. Gets a little out of off of the handle. Because of that, ends up going wide. Tryhard maybe 3. Finally, he picks up a big pad. That might be one of the first times we've seen a big pad picked up, but I think that was more of a consequence of trying to get to the ball. And it does use that big pad to their advantage. Has plenty of speed and is able to beat Beckett to this one after they get that first touch to center it up in the middle of the field. What a play by Tryhard maybe that time around. We will indeed get our first game number 3. It's crazy to think that Beckett is Buns, I think, had, like 7 shots or something like that in game number 1, but was only able to find 2 over the course of game number 2. Really, when you look at it, I mean, Tryhard maybe, their results really aren't much different. Between games 1 and 2, it's really Beckett is Buns that didn't quite find that same efficiency. They found the back of the net 7 times. I mean, technically, Tryhard maybe has scored 3 goals twice, right? It was just good enough to win that game number 2. Now both of these two are indeed 1 game away from being 1 series away from the grand finals. That's what's on the line here in game number 3. It's a dance in the semis. So let's go ahead and run those scores back to 0 one more time. Let's get down and do what it do. And it's the backup shot once more from Beckett's Buns. And I believe it was 6 seconds in game number 1 to find the lace. It feels like deja vu all over again. If that's how game number 1 started, keep in mind Beckett's Buns did run away with that one. Here's the kickoff and should add a second. And there it is, goal number 2 on the board for Beckett, and we're only 14 seconds in. Maybe, I guess, Tryhard just getting lucky having more of these these straight up, face up style kickoffs in that game number 2. Or sorry, having more of the diagonal kickoffs, I should say. Because when they're the more straight up, whether they're straight up off the, straight up down the middle face-offs, or the ones where they're just off-centered, it feels like these are the ones where Beckett, despite the fact that they basically get a 50 with Tryhard maybe right up off of the kickoff, there's something about the programming and the adjustment on the second touch for Beckett that they're able to get that second touch first, even when they're backing up into it like we just saw here. And this is definitely a most clever design. I am curious if that touch is programmed based off of this head-up kickoff. Because we've seen it almost every time. Watch, Beckett, 180. Oh, not going to get over Tryhard this time. Tryhard wins the 50, leaves the ball in front of the Beckett net. That will be Tryhard winning their first. Sorry, not winning their first, but getting their first goal. They do have quite the mountain to climb here, but they do have a lot of time. And again, there is something about the programming of this kickoff. They go heads up, and then Beckett backs it up. What, they've scored 3 or 4 of their 5 goals thus far here in game number 3 that way. So it'll be the straight head-up kickoff. But again, Beckett should be taking it to the sidewall here. The question is, do they get possession far enough away from the goal? Because once Beckett has gotten essentially inside the top of the box, extended over towards the corner, it doesn't feel like their bot is able to cut the angle from there. But they are in the middle of the field. Before they get to that box line, feels like they're dialed in. One thing that is worth noting is it feels like, oh, never mind. I was going to say that Beckett's defensive rotation isn't on point, but this isn't Beckett's defensive rotation. This is Beckett rotating around the outside on offense and then almost saves their own goal. Not sure what that's about. But either way, let's go ahead and get on into it. See if there's a chance that Beckett can send us off to warmer lands and send us off to Brazil. There'll be a clear here this time from Tryhard maybe. Sends it deep inside the orange half. Can he make the adjustment? No. That one just rolls just off the side post. Hold on though. Tryhard maybe. And this is an interesting 50. We haven't seen too many bots be comfortable hitting a 180 and going for a 50 from so far away. Does win it. It does score a goal off it. It would still need 4 more, though. Guys, is this the corner 3? Corner 3! Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Beckett his bun seems to have broken the code here. Now, corner 3. All right, I'm not going to do that. I'm just kidding. Oh, watch out. Corner 3. Now. Does look like, though, this time around, though, Tryhard maybe will be able to take it to the sidewall. Takes it away from that center kickoff mark where Beckett his bun seems to find so much value. And here it is, behind the ball. Corner 3. Puts this one in as well. It's 8-2. And this one feeling a lot more reminiscent of game number 1. I guess I would have to go back to the VOD and watch. Did we just get a lot more diagonal kickoffs? And, well, no, because diagonal kickoff comes through there and, oh, no, it's not going to work. Yeah, Tryhard gets enough of it, finds the save. Beckett overruns that one, but then turns right back around, and the post is friendly. And it rolls right on in. You know, I had heard that we had like a 20-2 off stream. Was Beckett the one who had done that? He's definitely running up here, going crazy in game number 3. Heads up, 7-up. Oh, I thought for a second. I'm still waiting for the Rule 1. I was told that there's a chance we could see one here today. And we've seen a couple of times where cars have gotten relatively close. Not quite. Oh. Wait. Beckett? Hey, you know what, though? Respect. I guess had programmed the bot to give a courtesy goal once they were up by so many. Beckett just turns right on around and puts it in their own net. It is 9-3, though, and with 2:07 on the clock, I mean, let's be honest. The chance of a comeback here, rather minimal, especially because the one game that we did see Tryhard maybe win, it was while the pace was lower, right? Again, we've seen Tryhard maybe technically score 3 in their first 2 games. This is the first game that we've seen them score more than that. And I think part of it is because we have had more kickoffs. We've had more slowing down in the game. It does feel like game number 3 at this point. The final minute and 54 seconds is kind of turned into a victory lap here for Beckett. This kickoff isn't going to result in a quick goal. Now there's maybe a chance for Tryhard, maybe. First time we've seen a big pad picked up in a hot minute. But that shot, unfortunately, just rings just off of the post. Trying to keep the control down here. Gotta give credit where it's due. The programming on Tryhard maybe does a good job of being able to find that second and third touch and put it on its hood. Struggling to turn around and find the angle, though, and I think since it loses the control, oh no, not like this. Was trying to find the clear, but instead ends up pushing it into its own net. And officially seeing that double-digit mark for the first time here on stream. Good chance here for Beckett, but they will have to field it off of their opponent's back wall first. Since it's the middle of the field, and or maybe should be able to chase this down. Doesn't get the angle off of that first touch, however. Now here's Beckett looking to go the opposite way. We kept talking about how it seems like this steep angle has been tough for a lot of these bots to find, and in similar fashion there. 3 seconds left. Tryhard maybe at this point would need a goal about every 8 seconds. We had seen Beckett doing that earlier. that weird back on up shot. It was working. If it works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's for sure. I do gotta say, it feels like with that kickoff that we had seen from Beckett as Buns, this has to be one of our students that's back from the fall, right? It feels like that is something that had to have been picked up from seeing that very similar kickoff approach from the bots over and over again over the course of a bracket itself. But it will indeed be Beckett as Buns. Will continue to move forward. They'll advance into that semifinals as we now move forward into our top 4. And while in our top 4, we will still technically be playing best of 3s. Have now made themselves, as we close on in, 1 round away from that grand finals, where then those series do get just a little bit longer there. That last one being a best of 5, but man, 10 goals. First time we've seen double digits there. We'll have to keep an eye on Beckett as Buns and see if there's a chance for them to run up a high goal count here in their semifinal matchup. Because again, we are now going to be watching the rest of the matchups from here on out on stream. We are going to have both semifinals. Those will both be best of 3s, as we have Mason Bot versus Star Dreamer. And then we've got the only one versus Beckett is Buns, who just won that last matchup. So those will both be played on stream. The winner of those 2 matchups will be squaring off against one another in the finals. And that one will be a best of 5. It's been really fun to see the different strategies of the bots for sure. Again, keeping in mind that most of our students really had no background when it came to programming or Python or anything like that. And have obviously seen where all of our students have kind of dug in at least a little bit in different ways, whether it be focusing more on playing fast, focusing more on being a defense and playing for the counterattacks. We saw Beckett as Buns breaking the code completely and being able to find a strat that allowed them to find quick success off of the kickoff multiple times in that last one. So we'll see what strategies are up these bots' sleeves as we head down the home stretch. But we are going to go ahead and take ourselves a little bit of a break as we do set the stage. Again, this is our inaugural Skillquest Spring Classroom Clash presented by Nassif. We appreciate you guys for tuning in over on the League OS Twitch. If it's your first time through and you haven't already done so, hit that follow button down below. Turn those notifications on. We're through the group stages. We're off to the semifinals. We'll have semifinal number 1 coming straight to y'all right on the other side of this break.
Oh, I think esports, let me tell you right now, it's changed the culture of our school in terms of involving kids.
It's a good experience. It gets you to work as a team. It gives you a new family to be a part of.
For gaming, we always see it as like a hobby or things like that, but now it's like there's career opportunities.
We need to reach all the students. We need to give them opportunities. These kids need the opportunity. They just want to jump right in and they just want to play, and we just need to give them that space, and administrators need to give them that opportunity like ours has.
If you're a school administrator and you come to this today and watch the kids and watch everybody excited, I don't know why you would say no.
All right, and we are back, and we continue moving on forward, baby, here at our inaugural Skillquest Spring Classroom Clash presented by Nassif, powered by League OS. We have been through the round of 16. We have been through that round of 8, and we're now moving into our semifinals. As I mentioned, we will be having both of these games on stream here. So we will be watching both Mason Bot and Star Dreamer, as well as Beckett as Buns and the one and only. It's kind of interesting, actually. I think we've seen 3 of these 4 bots already, so we get to see how they compare up against one another. Matter of fact, of our top 4, the only one that we haven't seen is did I say the one and only? That's my dyslexia kicking in. That's the only one. I can definitely read, I promise. Version number 2, of course. But it does look like it will be Mason Bot versus Star Dreamer. That will be our first matchup here in our semifinals. Again, these are still best of threes. However, it's a best of 5 that you get to play in that grand finals for all of the marbles. Trying to think back to what we had seen from both of these two bots their first time on the pitch. I feel like both of these two bots played relatively quickly. And you know, it's interesting because we will see a very quick goal here from Mason bot right up off of the rip. But what I was going to wonder was if the fact that now they're both playing fast, this might lead to a game where we see a very high scoring affair. Sometimes when you have a faster car versus a slower car, even like in your typical ranked games of Rocket League and in 1v1, but when the slower car has the possession, the faster car doesn't want to over-aggress, right? Because you can have a simple play like that one there, where you end up finding the back of the net. Mason bot will now be up 2-0. But when they are both fast, well, there's a chance for more mistakes to be made because, again, these are bots. They're only going to be able to make the play that they think they should be made based off of the inputs they have been given inside of the game itself. Now here it is. Mason bot wins off of the draw. And oh no, chat, watch out. We have now had 3 goals in just a matter of seconds. Is this our first real seeing of the floodgates being open in the semifinals? We'll have to stay tuned and see. It's not going to be a quick goal this time around for Mason bot, and now even a chance the opposite way for Star Dreamer. You know, one thing now that I think about it, we did see both of these bots be rather strong offensively while being relatively weak defensively. But they both got away with it because it felt like they played faster than the bots that they played against. We saw both of these two bots in their first rounds of action, right? It felt like these students programmed them to play very fast. But just like a traditional game, if you were playing it of Rocket League, sometimes playing fast leads to mistakes. The bots have been no different. However, they have still been playing fast. That's the reason that we have seen 5 goals in 40 seconds, and now Mason bot finding their 4th as it's 4-1. Mason bot just seems to have all of the control, all of the pressure. The good news for Star Dreamer is it doesn't feel pressure because it's a bot. So when it gets a chance to go the opposite way, it's going to be able to capitalize. You just saw that there on your screen. It's a slow roller off of the side wall, and since we haven't really seen Star Dreamer take very many risks of making aerial plays, it just waits for it to roll, puts it on its hood, and carries it across the goal line. Here's a bouncer. And like we have seen from multiple of our bots throughout the course of the night, those high bouncers, man, seem to throw it for a real loop. Oh, this is tough. Oh no, it's a pull shot. Technically, it's a pull pass because Mason bot is able to follow it up with a secondary touch for a shot. It starts off by bumping Star Dreamer. Leaves that ball in front of the net. Star Dreamer deep inside of their territory here now. We'll try and see if they can cut into this 3-goal lead. Yo, Mason bot, where are we going, big dog? We saw Mason bot be going screaming down the middle of the field, and looks like because it was relatively empty on gas, prioritized rotating towards that big pad. Just over ball. Unfortunate. Even the bots make that mistake. See, now I have an excuse when I make that mistake and my friends try and give me a hard time. I'll be like, look, even the bots that I watched this weekend did it. You know what I mean? Honestly, shout out to the students for making me feel a little bit better about that. 'Cause 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 ' Thought there was gonna be a chance here for Star Dreamer to be able to add a fourth. Unfortunately, no dice there, and now it's gonna be Mason Bot looking to take it the opposite way. Can you believe we've only been in this game for 2 minutes? I mean, 8 goals between our two bots here. Now Star Dreamer gonna be able to pick up that one. And there is a very good chance that if Star Dreamer strikes next, we could have 10 goals, and who knows, very much the first half of play. Ball bounces high. Is this just going to be a slow roller? And it is. It's not going to be for Star Dreamer, though. It is indeed going to go in the goal for Mason Bot. It is now 6-4. Line things up here again. We still have a whole half to play here in game number 1. Really just feels like this has been a battle of the kickoff. I feel like we really haven't seen much of a back and forth affair while the ball's in play. Again, I think part of that is because it feels like both of these students have really prioritized offense. Part of the reason both of these two players have made it thus far. And now here's Star Dreamer. A slow drive because they have no gas in the tank, but they do carry it coast to coast. Now turns this into a 1-goal game. .208 on the clock, and Mason Bot going to be able to win the kickoff here. That's a bouncer in front of the net. Feel like I've seen this one before. Star Dreamer going to be able to find the clear, however overshoots it. Rolls right back onto their hood and should have enough movement towards the net. There it is, Star Dreamer. Now going to be able to tie things up, and it's 6-6. All gas, no brakes for both of these two players. Bot will overshoot this one. This time around, the ball gets pinched not quite as much, so it doesn't go high and over the goal and bounce back, which means easier for it to transition to go the opposite way. Now Mason Bot driving the wrong way away from this one, which means Star Dreamer has some time to field it, even though it does take its time for sure. And I'm trying to think, is that Star Dreamer's first lead of the game? I think it is, right? Now Mason Bot going to be the one looking for the response and only has 1 minute and 25 to do so. Going to be off the corner. Centering it back on up, but since Mason Bot did chase it back in towards the corner, since it does seem to be programmed to try and chase the ball down and continue to play aggressive, couldn't quite find the angle. Like even here, right? You can see it's more prioritizing closest to ball than even finding boost, which worked for it when it was playing against a slower bot that was giving it space. It hasn't quite been the case this time around. Did Mason Bot his own goal? No. Ends up finding the pinch to be able to get it clear. And it is now 45 seconds left. And while it may feel like this game has been, or this series has been enough for 2 games thus far, thanks to all of the resets because of 13 goals, this is indeed only game number 1. Please no overtime. Although I guess the good news would be if it goes to overtime. I mean, when you've had 13, it would be 14 goals in 5 minutes. You can probably expect that there would be a relatively quick goal in overtime as well. But it doesn't look like that's going to be required. This slobber knocker ends up in a 7-6 victory for Star Dreamer, as they are now 1 win away from being able to secure their spot in the grand finals. We'll have to wait and see if they'll be able to do it in back-to-back games. I feel like we've seen for the most part that the bot who is able to control the pace of play in game number 1 is able to do so in game number 2, but I would almost argue we didn't see the pace being really controlled over the course of game number 1, right? We saw technically that bot had to make a comeback there late in the series to be able to pull it off. Or sorry, not late in the series, late in the game to be able to pull it off in game number 1. Will it be able to pull off that same heroics in the following? That's going to be the real question. Again, keeping in mind, we're already down to our top 4. Whoever does win this series here walks away and into that grand finals. And it's interesting because generally you would say if you're having both of the semifinals played on stream, the first qualifier technically would get the benefit of watching the next series, but I don't think a bot's going to be watching to see how the other bot's playing. Let's go and get right back into the action. Remember last time around, we had seen a lot of kickoff goals. Hasn't quite been the case here though. Looks like actually a whole minute of play in game number 2 has gone through. We've yet to see our first goal. Yeah, what we had seen, I think it was like 13 goals or something like that in that first game. A lot of them were in the first 2 minutes of play. It felt like the game was crawling through the first 2 minutes. It's really a different change of pace here for sure. Ball's in the middle of the field. Chance for Star Dreamer to try and pick this thing up. Not going to be the case, though. Back towards the other side wall. Has some gas in the tank to work with. Looks like a good setup for the aerial. It just doesn't seem like... Feels like it's like designed, like it's programmed for a good first touch to like send it in the direction, but unfortunately just can't seem to jump off of the wall and be able to find that third touch from there to guide it towards the net. Now 2:40 left. We've been through a full half of play, and while it might have been all offense in game number 1, both defenses doing a really good job here in game number 2. Still looking for a first goal. Bot's going to be able to win the 50 on this one. Carries it through the corner. Fortunately, though, pushes themselves just a little bit too deep. Not going to be able to chase this one down. At least not in the sense of putting it towards the net. Is going to be able to rise to the sky, though. Can you get your tires down and face the net to be able to put a shot on target? Doesn't look like it. Does get the big bad, though, so it does mean less resources available to Star Dreamer. Masonbot picks it up. One shot, flick it up and over. Masonbot will strike first. Star Dreamer did have the comeback in game number 1. Maybe the table's just being set to be able to do the same thing here in game number 2, albeit be a little bit different in the sense that it doesn't feel like it's as high scoring of an affair. Well, who knows? Maybe we see a run of the table where a couple of kickoff goals going to go in succession back and forth the way that we had seen it do in that first game. Opportunity here as Masonbot heading back towards their own goal. Oh, but Star Dreamer overshoots it. Is going to be able to make the readjustment, though, thanks to the fact that Masonbot nowhere in sight. Things are going to be tied up at 1. I can only imagine the stress. You made it this far. You programmed a bot that's been able to make it into the top 4. You lost by 1 in game number 1. But at least now off of the back of this one, Masonbot will now be up by 1. Now can you hold the line? That's the question here for Mason Bot. Mason Bot going to be able to win the 50 on the kickoff. Does overshoot it, however, and does mean it's not going to be sent towards the net. Ball instead gets sent towards the corner. The Star Dreamer looking to put it on their hood. Does get bumped off. We do officially enter into that final minute of play. Hold on a second. Star Dreamer picked this up. Take it towards the blue net. No, instead takes it towards the side wall. Find the pinch. Oh, we've seen it try a couple of times. Oh, just imagine if it found the pinch. That would have been kind of crazy. Now's a chance. Breakaway goal opportunity. Mason Bot trying to retreat back to defense. Oh! I thought was going to be able to hit the 180 in the goal and be able to find the save. Unfortunately, it looks like kind of did like a hard turn and didn't hit the e-brake. Had you drift braked that, I think you might have been able to turn around in time, but I can only imagine would have taken quite a bit of time to program that as opposed to just the hard turn. And no, we had seen Mason Bot allow a last-second goal to lose game one. They do the same here. No, we are indeed off to overtime. Mason Bot not out of the woodworks yet. Oh no, breakaway goal opportunity. You know what's one thing I was just thinking? We haven't seen any bots trying to go for demos, have we? I wonder how much that would disrupt things if there's a bot that was programmed to try and go for the kablooies, the kablamos, and whammos. First 30 seconds into overtime here. Star Dreamer had a shot at it. Instead, ends up sending it towards the corner. Star Dreamer, that's your goal. Star Dreamer. Not gonna lie, I was kind of concerned there for a second. Ends up getting it under control, though. No gas in the tank here for Star Dreamer. Oh, and that's a runaway goal. Can you find the angle? No, instead it runs into the wall just a tad bit wide. And overtime goes on a little longer. Might be it, though, depending on if it can get its wheels right on the ground, and it does. That is the angle. Oh, but that one's off the post. See Star Dreamer be able to do this twice, retreat back to their half, and then go on to the attack. Wheels down. Does get the wheels down. Oh, but it overshoots it. Hold on, wins the 50. Can he make the adjustments? I think this is too tight of an angle for it, though. Yeah, too tight of an angle. And now there's a chance for a clear from Mason Bot. Here's Star Dreamer, though, picks it up. Remember, Star Dreamer won off a late goal in game number one. An overtime goal would most certainly be heartbreaking here. Mason Bot to fall out in a full sweep. Star Dreamer still struggling to try and find an angle to put this one on target. Again, talk about a stark difference between the two games. 13 goals scored in game number one. And whenever this overtime goal does officially get punched in on one side of the field or the other, it'll only be goal number 5. Both teams scored more than that individually in our first game of the series. We had a chance to go the opposite way for Mason Bot. We'll at least be able to find the clear. Gets the pressure relieved that way. But it has felt every time that the ball has gone to the ceiling. Usually Star Dreamer is the first one onto their 4 tires and down. But this time around, it's Mason Bot. They pick it up and they cross the goal line. And it only feels fitting that our first semifinal matchup of the day goes off to game number 3. It took darn near 8 games of Rocket League, 8.5 minutes of Rocket League for us to find a winner there in game number 2. But again, it is Mason Bot. What's also kind of intriguing is seeing the lack of efficiency in the shooting from Star Dreamer, because Star Dreamer shot very efficiently in game number 1. 9 shots, but just quite a few of them, I mean, barely wide on either one side or the other. Now what does game number 3 look like? I mean, game number 1, 13 goals. 5 goals here in game number 2. Both games, though, are a 1-goal difference. Really showing just how tightly contested these two students' projects are. And I think one thing that is worth noting, as far as for these projects for the students, it's pretty cool, is like the students own the project, right? They can talk about it in interviews for any of those, like the disciplines, whether, you know, they're going in for like software engineering, data science, machine learning, things like that. Like, it's not just homework. Like, it's something that they can talk about and be happy about. For these students here, I mean, you've made it into the semifinals. That's already pretty awesome. It looks like this semifinals game number 3. Looking like it could be back to that higher pace, higher octane action, like we saw in the first game of this series. For now, that'll get sent towards the middle of the field, and he's going to be back to, maybe I was wrong. I thought there was a chance we were going to be seeing the high run up, and who knows, maybe still a chance to find a quick second one down on this side, or even a transition play. Not going to be the case. Angle looking for here is Mason Bot, but that one rings off of the post, and in transition is Star Dreamer. But they end up carrying it wide. Actually, technically carried it a little bit away from the goal. Not exactly sure what that was about. 180. Can you hit another 180? Hit another 180? No, instead it goes back to their corner, and this is going to be where they need to field it to go the opposite way. Although space has been given over to Mason Bot, who sent it to the opposite wall, was trying to wrap around to be able to put a shot on target, but instead space was given to Star Dreamer. And Star Dreamer bangs this one home. That right there gives us a tie ball game. 75 seconds in. Awkward touch. Leaves it on top of Star Dreamer's head. Almost looks like an and one mixtape play. Here, you hold it. All right, now that you've hold it, I'll take it, and I'm going to put it in your net. Mason Bot now going to be up 2-1. I think they called that the off the heezy back in the day. Anyways, Mason Bot going to be able to win the kickoff, and this is where we saw them be able to find a lot of success. Earlier in game number 1 was off kickoffs. And this time around, able to do the same, and now going to find themselves up by 2. Straight heads up kickoff here again. And there it is. Corner 3. Mason Bot going to be able to punch this one in as well, and it's 4-1. It just seems like has the formula put together for these heads up kickoffs, especially against Star Dreamer. Good news is now they're coming in from the diagonal, and I don't think we've seen quite the same success. While Mason Bot still does technically win the kickoff, sends that ball deep back towards the midfield line, and now here's Star Dreamer. Breakaway goal. Oh, Mason Bot, that's that one away. Gets in front of it. And like LeBron in 2016, chases it down and finds a block. Star Dreamer looking to try and boost ahead and get in front of this one. Tries to fire a shot down, but just can't quite there. Where are you going, Star Dreamer? You know that's your net, bud. Yep, there you go. Able to find it over to the right. I'll tell you what, that bot sure does seem to like to play chicken with us, doesn't it, chat? Half left to play, and feels like when you look at the top of your screens, you know the direction that this thing seems to be heading. But if the kickoff goals start piling up again here in the middle of the game, the same way that they did in game number 1, who knows? Maybe there is still a chance. It'll be 4-2 for now. Mason Bott, who sends it into the corner. Hezzies for a second, picks it up. That's not going to be enough, and now it's going to be Star Dreamer who looks to go the other way with it. This ball deep in the territory. The only problem is off the backboard. I was going to say they can't get in front of the ball, but Star Dreamer actually gets an awkward enough of a bump with Mason Bot where they kind of put themselves in the right position. Sometimes better to be lucky than good, I suppose. Because now we got ourselves a 1-goal ball game. Mason Bot, however, will be able to re-extend. Gives themselves that security blanket goal. Let's see some late game heroics from Star Dreamer in game number 1. Almost did the same in game number 2. And it does look like we'll need to rely on it here in game number 3. Unfortunately for Star Dreamer, it's another corner 3. These heads up kickoffs, man. Mason Bot is dialed in. It might not be that backup shot that we still have a chance to see probably in our next matchup. When their heads up, Mason Bot, corner 3, puts it right over his head. And it's been easy every time. This time, though, the balance a little too high. Won't be able to chase it down. Now it's 1 minute and 25 seconds. Star Dreamer going to need to move with a sense of urgency if it's going to bring it back here. We did see it have a good comeback at the end of game number 1. I just don't know if it's in the cards here in game number 3. Which also makes you wonder, this is going to be our first game that isn't a 1-goal ball game in the semifinal matchup as well. And while I'm sure the student would have liked to have seen a 7th goal for Mason Bot there, ideally, by not putting it into the lace, you just get to continue to run the clock. I mean, you're already up by 3. It's not like you need to score. The last thing you want to do is set up for kickoffs and let Star Dreamer find a couple off rip and all of a sudden shifts the scoreboard without shifting the clock. 15 seconds though. At this point, it's over. It's done. It's dusted. Star Dreamer had a heck of a comeback in game number 1. But I think they used up all of their luck there, as it will be Mason Bot who will be our first one to secure themselves a spot in our grand finals. 8 shots for Mason Bot, 6 of which were able to find the net. Meanwhile, Star Dreamer, their lowest shooting output that we had seen, I think, on the day thus far. And kind of understandable why this is also the biggest deficit that we saw, at least in this series, from Star Dreamer there. So big shout out to Star Dreamer. I mean, making it top 4. Again, keeping in mind just how many students were in this at the start of things, right? 128 students nationwide. Be able to program a bot. Gets into that top 4. Definitely something that is worth giving yourself a little bit of a pat on the back. So big shout out to them. We will have to find out who our second participant in that grand finals is going to be. So I guess we might as well go ahead and give our director and admin in the back a chance to do that. So let's take ourselves a quick little break. Again, make sure you're staying hydrated. I know we're at the middle of the day or starting to approach dinner time. Maybe grab yourself a small little something to eat. We got 2 more series left on the day to crown a champ. But when we get back, we got our other semifinal action over here at our inaugural Skillquest Spring Classroom Clash. We'll be back right after this. All right, we got ourselves one grand finalist. We got to figure ourselves out another. We started the day with 16. We're technically down to 3 as MasonBot has now sent Star Dreamer home. We now get to see Beckett is Buns back to the pitch. They were able to run it up quite a bit in their matchup against Tryhard Maybe. They'll be taking on the only bot that is in our top 4 that we have not seen here on stream so far today. It's the one in the... I almost did it again. It's the only one. Version 2, of course. So, again, still best of 3s here to figure out who's going to be moving on into that grand finals. No better time to get down to the action than right now. As we do get prepared for our second semifinals, we want to let you know about some of the other things that we've got going on over here as far as NASEF. Got as far as in partnership with Rube Goldberg Institute announces the Rube Goldberg Unreal Engine Challenge. This interactive 3D competition invites students to use their creativity to animate a virtual Rube Goldberg machine in the digital world. Create, record, and submit a video of your Rube Goldberg Unreal Engine machine that accomplishes the 2025-26 task of opening a box. Sign up today. Submission deadline here still in a few weeks on May 8th, but we do see the first one onto the board here in our second semifinal matchup. It will be the only one. Version 2, of course. If you are wanting to submit for that Unreal Engine Rube Goldberg challenge, the link is www.nasif.org/Rube-Goldberg. See if we can get one of our admin to throw that in chat for you guys as well. It is Buns, looks to fire a shot from distance. That should be on target. Yeah, there it is. It ends up crossing the goal line as well. Remember, Beckett is Buns, we saw finding a lot of success off of the kickoff in their last one. So can't help but wonder if we do see them line it up, especially in this more heads-up scenario. Again, this is where they were fine last time. Look to back it up. Oh, hold on a second, though. The only one has a similar move where they back into it, send it towards the opposite sidewall, and then they boost forward to get the big pad. So maybe Beckett is Buns isn't going to be able to use that little niche shot that we had seen them really be able to capitalize on in their last matchup. Only one is going to be able to hit 2 posts, which is rather fitting since it is the second version. But it will be Beckett is Buns who does go coast to coast with it. Will eventually be able to put it across the goal line. It gets not very much more easy than that one. Beckett is Buns, unfortunately, or sorry, not Beckett is Buns, the only one, I should say, just wasn't able to chase it down in time. 3.5 minutes, though. Still plenty of time for the only one. But now they're going to have to grab a pair. After Beckett is Buns just squeaks this one right on by. 2-goal lead, 3:24 left on the clock. There's that more face-up kickoff. Instead, it's going to be the only one who wins it. Oh, looks to send it on target, but it rings off of the post. Beckett will drive right up under it, though. Does that give the only one enough time to chase it down and pick it up? It looked like it. I think the only one, though. Oh, no. I wonder if the only one is programmed to prioritize boost, and that big boost might have just popped up, which is what triggered it to hit that 180 and circle back around to pick up the big boost, which gave enough time for Beckett to be able to put it on target. Opportunity here. We haven't really seen Beckett jump for much. Tried that one. Punches it off of the post as while it's still floating around in front of the net. Beckett's going to be able to pick it up, and Beckett will be able to find a fifth. Now it's 5-1. You do still have a whole half to play. But again, on that mini head up kickoff where they're not straight head on, but just slightly off centered, where Beckett backs into it, kind of like we just saw him score this goal here. While Beckett hasn't necessarily found success in that regards on kickoff, they're still rolling here. They're cruising. It's 6-1. 2.5 minutes left to play. Will be the only one, though, off of the kickoff. And again, because it seems that the only one programmed to prioritize boost over ball, that's twice that it's given up room for Beckett to either get possession or get a shot on because of it. And now off of the back of that possession, Beckett will send us off to warmer lands with the Brazil. Six goals in 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Just don't know if I'm seeing it. I'll tell you what, though. What I am seeing is Beckett finding this angle, busting out the protractor on yet another shot. And again, I mean, if the only one had an extra inch or two on that hood, probably finds the save. We've all been there, and those are probably some of the roughest replays to watch back, because there's really nothing you can do about it. The only one, though, will be able to find a kickoff goal. Second touch is off the hood of Beckett, puts it towards the net, and they're able to follow it up from there. I'm trying to remember, what's our highest score we've seen today, chat? Maybe someone can remember. Remind me. I think it was 10. Beckett had risk, I would say, to breaking that. But I don't know. The only one all of a sudden starting to piece things together, as that is now 2 unanswered. Question is there enough time? It's 1 minute and 40 seconds left on the clock. The only one that's towards the net. Not in time, though, to be able to find a third touch. And what is interesting, we had mentioned earlier how it feels like the only one prioritizes boost over ball. We've seen multiple times where Beckett prioritizes ball over boost. We saw on the way up the field, probably had a chance to grab the big pad, which would have given him plenty of room to easily carry it across the goal line, but instead, the ball limps off of their hood, so the only one is able to find the save. And then they go the opposite way. Just when we thought that maybe this had gotten too far out of hand, it's 8-4, Oh, and that could have been a kickoff goal, but the only one pivots back for the boost. Gives the space over to Beckett. Beckett now has a chance, but now this is a situation where because Beckett prioritized the ball over boost, although might they go a different way there? You know what? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Beckett ends up picking it up and still puts it across the goal line. And Beckett is Buns is now up by 5, and with 50 seconds on the clock, means you would need to see a goal every 10 seconds. And looks like that task could become a little taller here as Beckett going to add yet another and does tie our top scorer, at least as far as on stream for the day, as we now officially see 10. Again, I think I had heard one of our admin in the background say that one of these bots scored 20 in the first round of play, I believe it is, which is kind of crazy. Wonder if it was Beckett doing that little backup off of the shaded kickoff, maybe, because we had seen even in their second round matchup that Beckett was able to find a lot of good success off of that one. Hasn't quite done the same so here, but hasn't needed to. Still been able to find a plethora of goals. That one there being number 11. At this point, just let this last round or last 25 seconds play out. Of course, you can't really like recode the bot or anything, right? If the bot sees a shot, the bot's gonna take the shot. And Beckett's bot has been not only taking a lot of shots, but hitting them as well. He might have the most goals in the tournament. And again, that's with Beckett compared to the only one. Not really prioritizing boost, just usually more playing closer to the ball. As a matter of fact, I would feel like a lot of the times where we have tuned into Beckett's POV, I don't know if we've really ever seen them like over that like 32, 36, 39, or sorry, 38, 40 mark of boost. Still able to find a whole bunch of shots, 12 of them things, 11 of which able to find the lace. Beckett is Buns is also stepping up on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, found 4 saves. I think that does show a lack of efficiency, though, from the only one. Because what? 4 goals. Only 2 saves. So let's go ahead and get into game number 2. Keep on moving. Figure out if Beckett is Buns is going to be able to win back-to-back games and secure that ticket into the grand finals. Here's the only one. It's a breakaway. Slows down to wait to see where the ball comes off of the backboard. That's actually a first we've seen from any of the cars. Usually, when we see the cars go bouncing up in the sky and go rolling up on the backboard, a lot of cars kind of go chasing it up. So taking the extra time to program this car here, the only one, to wait for it to come back down and roll and see where they need to make the touch. So definitely kudos to them for that. However, Beckett's going to get back off to their hot scoring ways. Right up off of the kickoff, 5 seconds in response. And just as quick as the only one was able to take the lead, they fall back behind just as quick. Beckett. Get up. Let's have it deep inside the orange half here. Instead, though, ends up putting it on the only one's hood, who's going to take it the opposite way. That shot kind of on target. Ends up being a tad bit wide, but now maybe a chance for an angled shot. That's a roller! And the only one going to take the lead as that one creeps its way across the goal line. Trying to think back. I felt like it took a little while until we started seeing the pace get ramped up. So maybe still a chance to still see a high goal counter in game number 2, similar to the way we saw in game 1. Well, I'm trying to think back to, what was that, our 3rd series during the regular bracket play? The 3rd, there's that one game that was like so much slower. And I was about to say maybe that's this one here, but it feels like the only one is starting to pick up the pace. And kudos on the aerial shot for whoever programmed this bot there. As you haven't seen, is that the first one? I think it might be the first one that we've seen on stream. And while sure, obviously for those of us who play Rocket League, that wasn't like the fanciest of aerial rolls. But to be able to learn how to code a bot to do that in just 2 to 3 months, pretty darn impressive. Big shout out. Here's Beckett. And we've seen Beckett as Buns be able to land these long distance shots before. And this one there, going to be no different. Back to a 1-goal ball game here. Now remember, Beckett as Buns did take game number 1. I know it's not necessarily showing on our overlay right now, but if Beckett as Buns is able to win this second one, that will be a sweep. And Beckett advancing to that grand finals. That goal right there will tie things up as well. Ball's going to get cleared over towards the side here. It has some space, but because of the boost, I thought there was going to be a chance for the only one to turn around. We've seen where the only one normally has at other times been able to prioritize boost to get back into a defensive rotation. Unfortunately, on this one, gets caught in the corner. And X-Nay's around. Here's Beckett, pop up over 1. Now he's going to be retreating all the way back. The only one. Big play to be able to advance it forward. You're down by 1. I mean, that goes in. But I am kind of curious. Earlier we had mentioned how the only one was our only car that had gone for the aerial when the ball rolled up the wall and then ended up coming off. I wonder if because that one rolled up but was still rolling back, as in advancing towards the ball, the net, versus pulling away, if that's the reason that the only one pushed in there. It's definitely interesting to see whether the slight differences. There's an angle for Beckett. That one will be saved. It's an epic save as it was almost across the goal line, and now the only one has a chance at it, but that shot is a tad bit wide. Because see, that one rolled up and came away from the goal, and the only one doesn't get under it like they had even in that last play. I'm guessing it reads the input from the game that the ball is rolling up and with enough momentum that it'll roll out, which is why it did the aerial. That's a heck of programming there. Because again, I think the only one is the only one that we've seen that does that so far. Has now got a 2-goal lead with 1:58 left to play. Still time here. I know that Beckett as Buns has the ability to score in bunches. It's an angle there technically. Does it sneak past? How many times did we see this play? Almost identically. Short corner, hard cut to the far post. And I don't know if it's just the input that the only one is trying to read as it's tucked back within the net that it can't turn in time. It is unfortunate for sure. A chance here for Beckett. The only problem is, made the observation earlier as well, Beckett doesn't really seem to be worried about boost over ball. So while it had a chance, if it had some boost, to be able to quickly traverse the pitch, wasn't able to do so there. The only one shot. Rolls up off of the post. Big 50 here from Beckett, as that one's gonna find the lace. And while we might have seen the only one up by a couple of goals here, what was that, 90 seconds ago in game? All of a sudden, there's a chance that Beckett can bring this thing back here late. I don't think it's going to be the case here. No, actually, Beckett chases this one down and will be able to send it towards the corner. The only one has boost. Be able to work with, however, swings and misses in the corner. Good news is that boost will allow for the only one to be able to get back to goal. And that's going to be a sniper shot. That should make its way in shortly, right? Yeah, just sneaks past that inside post, that near post. And the only one able to re-extend their lead back out to 1. Here's Beckett, though. We'll be able to win the kickoff. And remember, Beckett, their bot has been pretty good at hitting that sharp angle. Oh, but that one's just a bit too steep. Instead of heading all the way across, it ends up onto the hood. And now they go coast to coast. And the only one, version 2, of course, going to be up by 2 here with 25 seconds left to play. If you can make something happen off the kickoff here, if you're Beckett, you're good. I don't think that swings wide enough, though. That comes off. Oh, and you can't cut that one. Oh, that is so tough there for Beckett. Surely watching the stream, felt like there was a chance to go for the sweep. But now Beckett is buns. Will be forced to a game number 3. That time around, the only one really able to pump up the volume. I mean, 11 shots as opposed to the 8 from Beckett. Both walking away with a couple of saves. Well, technically the only one only needed 1 save, but now it all comes down to this. Crazy to think about, man. Already got 1 semifinalist that has advanced into the grand finals. We have to figure out who's going to be squaring up against them. Can Beckett bounce back in game number 3 after dropping a heartbreaking game number 2? Or will it be the only one? The only one going to gift one over here to Beckett his buns. Matchup that was so close before. Surely not the start that you were hoping for. What a goal, the only one. Off kickoff. Moves it towards their net. And unfortunately, just as much as the only one. Gifted one to start. I guess Beckett figured I might as well gift one back. I don't know. 15 seconds in, we just might as well call it a tie ball game. And let's get back to it here in game number 3. Off of the kickoff, though, is Beckett. And would that mean technically that's 3 unanswered goals for Beckett, since Beckett technically scored the one for the only one. I'm not sure. I don't know. I feel like that's semantics. Anyways, 3 goals in 23 seconds to start things off. Oh, and maybe this is where Beckett starts to run things up off of the kickoff, because here is now a 3rd goal. And watch out if Beckett is just getting heated up. Off comes in. We've seen a couple of kickoff goals, which has allowed for Beckett to get this 2-goal lead. That shot's on target, but it is a tad bit wide. Now we'll look to try and at least send it up the field here as the one and only. And since it's rolling back towards them, that's part of the reason we saw them not push forward, but Beckett able to field it and finds a clear. Just passes up the ball. And we have seen this happen a couple of times for Beckett when they overshoot the ball. They just kind of wrap around the sidewall, and I think part of it is because it reads it as being ahead of the play. Now there's a chance it gets back behind the ball and had a chance to put a shot on target. Unfortunately, isn't going to be able to deliver. At least not on that one. Only one. Had to stop and think about it for a moment. Recalibrating maybe. Here's Beckett. Opportunity. And even after taking a second to think about it, the only one able to chase it down and finds the save. It's now 3 minutes left to play. Is that an angle? Or does that end up ringing off the post? No, it rings off the post, but if I can get to it, they would be able to punch that across the goal line, but instead it's the only one. Who, while I wouldn't call that a clear because it's only over towards the corner, at least takes it away from a threatening position just in front of the net. Shot from distance. Beckett finds the save. We are closing in on that midway point here in game number 3. That's a sniper shot from Beckett. Bang! Beckett now find themselves up by 3 with just 6 seconds left to go before the midway point here in game number 3. Kickoff is Beckett. Yet another goal. I don't know, man. Feels like the wheels started to come off of this one. What's interesting is Beckett was the one who earlier had that weird little backup play off of some of these like darn near mirror shaded centered kickoffs. Hasn't been able to use it yet, but still finding a lot of early pressure off of these kickoffs. That one, fortunately, I think gets cut just a little bit too hard. Follow-up shot rings off of the post. With a big whiffy whiff here from the only one. And with his ball now heading towards the sidewall, it could be a little more longer until we see a goal come across. Nice angle from the only one, though. Version 2, of course. But it does eventually get sent towards the corner. The only one. Quick brain freeze, trying to figure out which direction it needs to move. And we are officially 2/3 of the way through this game number 3. Beckett up 5-1. But is it 5-2 now? Yes, indeed it is. Off of the back of that long distance shot from the only one. Go in the corner. Beckett. Beckett's hit a lot of these long shots. Is this one on target? That one rings just a tad bit wide. It's the only one. Look to run this one up the sidewall. Doesn't follow it up though, and I think again, it's because that time we saw the ball, instead of roll up the wall and kind of roll out towards the play, just rolled straight up, and it felt like the one and only didn't know exactly what to do with that data input. We'll eventually be able to find a shot though from just outside the box and puts it on target. "45 seconds left. What can the only one do to prevent the upset?" We've seen this heck of an angle before. The only one's gonna be able to find a save this time. Slight adjustment on the touch there. Adjust the second time as well. And so you're telling me there's a chance. "29 seconds is plenty of time. Able to find one more goal to tie things up. Heck, 29 seconds is enough time to find 2 goals and not only tie things up, but to be able to take a lead and to prevent an overtime. Does start with a clear, which means first you have to make sure that Beckett doesn't find the stop. Beckett's carrying. Beckett can't make the adjustment. Beckett just scores the goal that ties things up at 5. Oh, and this is tough. Because the ball does not move off of the hood of Beckett. I'm guessing Beckett doesn't have the ability to make a decision of where to carry it because of how close it is to the ball. And the goal that it should be going into is technically an inverse direct behind it. So instead, by default, just continues to go forward. Forces the own goal, and now we're off to overtime. Hold on. Beckett off the kickoff. Thought was going to have a chance. First look going to be wide. If it can land on its wheels, though, hit a 180, be looking towards the net, there's a chance. And here it is from distance. We said they were looking to try to prevent the upset. And how late, what, they were down 2 goals with like 40-ish seconds left? And it's the miracle comeback from the only one, as Beckett will go out. I mean, an overtime shy. And I think the hardest pill to swallow here is going to be the fact that that goal that forced an overtime was an own goal from Beckett. We saw it, the input. I think they just realized essentially that if I had to guess, it was reading as the ball is in front of my car, but technically behind me if I'm trying to get it towards the goal. And so since there's not an input to turn left or right, it just kept naturally driving straight and drove it right into its own net, forces the overtime. And from there, it's a 50-50. So we do have our grand final set, though, as we can probably take a quick look at the overhead of the bracket to see how we have gotten here throughout the course of the day. But we have now come down to just 2 different bots. Now we have to figure out which one of them is going to be crowned a grand champion. Will it be Mason bot, or will it be the only one? The last 2 bots left standing. And how about this? Since we're off to the finals, you'll see all the way at the top. Let's make it a best of 5 just for good measures. All right? Since this is going to be a little bit longer of a series, let's make sure you're locked in, buckled in, and you're ready to go on the other side of this break. Make sure you got yourself some drink. Make sure you got a snack. We've been live for a bit. Make sure you're staying hydrated, folks. On the other side, it is one best of 5 to crown a champion, to figure out who is the best of the best, who comes out on top in our inaugural Skillquest Spring Classroom Clash, presented by Nassif. We'll be back right after this break. Oh,
I think esports, let me tell you right now, it's changed the culture of our school in terms of involving kids.
It's a good experience. It gets you to work as a team. It gives you a new family to be a part of.
For gaming, we always see it as like a hobby or things like that, but now it's like there's career opportunities.
We need to reach all the students. We need to give them opportunities. These kids need the opportunity. They just want to jump right in, and they just want to play, and we just need to give them that space, and administrators need to give them that opportunity like ours has.
If you're a school administrator and you come to this today and watch the kids and watch everybody excited, I don't know why you would say no.
All right, a quick break as it is. Hopefully you guys were able to grab yourself a snack. You're able to reach into the cupboard. You're able to reach into the fridge, grab yourself a drink. You've been staying plenty hydrated. We've had a whole bunch of fire action over here through our first, at this point, it's been 3 hours of action at the inaugural Skillquest Spring Classroom Clash. At the start of everything, we had 128 bots that were put together by students nationwide. They're put into 16 groups of 8 to give us our 16 bots that made it into playoffs. And now we are down to just 2. Who's going to come out on top is the question. Will it be Mason Bot or will it be the only one? While both have been undefeated, neither of them have had a perfect road here. Definitely have shown, at least weaknesses that have been capitalized on by other bots. Who's going to come out on top here is the question. Best of 5, race to 3 wins. Let's go ahead and get down to it. Be really intrigued to see what the pace is going to look like between these two bots, because it felt like at least the second time around that we saw Mason Bot, things were a little bit faster for the most part. There was the one game where things had really slowed down. Meanwhile, for the only one, we've seen them be able to keep a decent pace in the one series that we did see from them on stream. 30 seconds here. Mason Bot tries to scoop that one up as it rings off the post. One's going to trickle down the other way. Up in the air is the only one. That's, again, that one thing I've really loved seeing from this bot. When it rolls up the wall and it rolls out, we've seen it try to make a play. Big shot from distance, though, and the only one. Not sure where Mason Bot went off to. Chilling, I suppose. Driving laps over on that orange side. Classic. The only one, though, will be the first one on the board with another one of those long shots. Here's Mason Bot, though. We've seen Mason Bot have some decent success in the kickoffs. Won't be able to do so here. It's off of their own backboard, and quickly going the other way is the only one at the wide open net. The only one. Now going to be up by 2. Still time, however. 3:45 is a whole heck of a lot of time in Rocket League. Been interesting, though. I feel like we've started seeing this Mason Bot start putting a lot more of these balls into the corner, and like in the deep corner, not where they try and find the angle to make the shot, but where they essentially just start going from East Coast to West Coast with it without really putting much pressure on the net. Is that the first time we've seen a bot try and use a bump for demo or a bump for defense? I love it. Unfortunately, though, ends up not being successful. It slows down the first approach, but they can't wrap around and find a second bump. And the only one going to be up 3-0. Here's the kickoff. The only one winning that one. No boost in the tank, but does have enough to be able to get another touch. Bot has gas in the tank to work with. I feel like, though, and I think we had mentioned it earlier, it feels like Mason Bot, for the most part, uses their boost to like try and make impact with the ball to pick up like a speed off of the shot, versus trying to close the gap between them and an incoming player. Meanwhile, the only one has shown a pretty good grasp of being able to keep consistent pressure towards the opposition's net. There's Mason Bot. That shot is going to be a tad bit wide. Be a chance to pick it up here. Oh no, it called itself off for boost. What's even worse than that is just a second later, the boost pops up in front of it, and instead it's a slow roller. And the only one to be up 6-0. Mason Bot. Well, obviously they had quite a bit of success to be able to get to this point here in our tournament. Just doesn't seem to be able to find the reads out on the pitch right now. Oh no, it's going to start spinning circles, isn't it? It is. Which means the only one's going to be able to get a touch and at least get the control. And now they're going to take it the other way. They've got space. That does end up just a tad bit wide. Okay, I like the defensive... guys. Well, at least the good news, I guess, right now for the only one is this does burn time, right? I mean, you're up 6-0. You know, I was just crediting them for the burning of the time. And then they wrap around and just put a simple on shot. I mean, it's an open net. You can't blame them, right? If you're going to give it to me, I'm going to take it, says the only one. But now with 1 minute and 57 seconds, I'm not going to lie, I've got some concerns for Mason Bot. Oh no, Mason Bot caught in the corner again. Is this just going to give the only one another free run from one side of the field to the other? Yep, bang, there it is. I think Mason Bot said he's done. Mason said, you know what? I have played enough Rocket League for the day. Or maybe Mason Bot is just doing their best impersonation of my ranked teammates. I'm not really sure. Anyways, 1 minute 31 seconds. And it feels like this one all but over. But that isn't going to slow down the only one from adding yet another goal. As it's now 9-0. While we watch the formalities of this last minute and 25 seconds play out over here, chat, I want to let you know about some of the cool courses we've got going on between the NASIF and Skillshot Academy courses. NASIF has partnered with Skillshot Media to create various self-paced learning courses that provide educators with the fundamentals of scholastic esports. With courses such as 8 Steps to Success Club, Startup, Esports Coaching Certification, Esports Educator Certification, and many other courses planned for the future. I mean, also got a course that's structured around the trifecta of esports, mental health, mind, and body, as well as we do see the one and only adding another goal and being up to double digits. To also win those academy courses, you've got live broadcast production and shoutcasting courses. If you want to learn how to do what we're doing right on your screens now. There's also, you got esports coaching courses. You've got esports program workshops. All sorts of stuff. So make sure you're checking out HTTPS. It's academy.skillshot.com. See the offers on there. Final 20 seconds going to be playing out, though. And now I can't help but wonder, chat, what changes from Mason bot? No. What? Chat, I think Mason bot's allergic. What happened here? Trying to flip into it, I guess, for pressure? Either way. Couple whiffy whiffs, and that's now 11 for the only one. And yeah, I do have concerns coming down the home stretch here. Because to find no goals in an 11-goal game. I mean, what really is going to change out on the pitch for there to be such a stark difference? That I don't know. Guess we'll have to wait and see in game number 2. If there's any sort of change to how the ball rolls, any change to how things play off, especially after these kickoffs. Because, man, it just feels like the only one has had all of the pressure. We've seen them be able to find quick goals multiple times. And now you just wonder over on the other side of the pitch, like what like actually is the answer? How can you pull things off here and bring it back? I mean, 11-0 for the only one is tough. I guess at least the good news is Mason's second name, which is Bot. Because otherwise, I think if we were talking about a traditional grand finals and a 1v1, if you're to make it to a grand finals and lose 11-0, I would be very concerned about the mental heading into game number 2. But the good news is Mason can't feel nothing. So maybe you can just hope to start to get some rolls, which would also result in them getting some goals. Mason not going to overshoot this one, though. That should give a chance for the defensive rotation from the only one. Slides right on in. Does that slide in, though? It's off 2 posts. Oh, and it sits on the goal line. This is tough. Only one. I would almost say toxically stops and just watches. But obviously it's a bot, so it doesn't know. Oh, man. First goal on the board here in game number 2, and that is now technically 12 unanswered for the only one. Version 2, of course. Simbot tries to find a short shot, gets bumped off, and that should just be an easy touch. And yeah, there it is. It is a slow roller, but you don't need much oomph on the ball. You just bump the only player that's on the field back into your own net. There it is, the only one. Now going to be up by 2. It is 3:42 left to play. There is still time. See what they can make happen, though. I feel like one thing that we have seen the only one do very good at is some of these longer shots. However, That one there ends up ringing just a tad bit wide. And now, the clock just burns. I think. Is it just because it's so, like, evenly placed away from the car? Where's the other player? Wait, did Mason Bond just Houdini it off the pitch? Where'd he go? I'm not sure. But the only one still finds a way to punch that one across. So 3-0 as it is. And as we line back up for the kickoff, there's Mason Bond on the other side of the pitch. Not sure this is the time you want to be playing hide and seek. This is the grand finals after all. And the only one now going to be able to find a fourth. It is a slow roller. 22 miles an hour. But who needs for it to go fast when it's on target and the defense is on the other side of the field? Now here's Mason Bot with a chance at it. I'll tell you what, I'm not sure if Mason Bot has gotten stared at menacingly across the pitch from the only one, which has had them all of a sudden change their code or something. But I feel like this Mason Bot just hasn't quite been able to find the same grasp of the control of the game here in this series as they were their prior 2 times on stream. But will be the only one from distance. Yet another far shot. And it is now 5-0. I'm not sure what it is. But again, we've seen a couple. We've seen a decent amount of, I would say, actually. The goals from the only one be with a wide open net in front of them and no defensive resistance being had. And this time, no difference. And that does have me worried that we could very well be looking at a sweep here in our grand finals. The only one, crazy to think about, got pushed to the distance and was gifted an own goal by the opposition to force an overtime in game number 3 of their semifinals. They won that overtime. They came to the grand finals. They have now scored 17 unanswered to start this series. Only one going to be able to get a touch to at least exit out of their half here. Not going to be able to gather enough to put a first shot on target. The second one, though, will find the lace, and that's now 7. Because, you know, first 6, then... I'm not going to finish it. I hate myself even thinking about it. Anyway, 7-0 here in game number 2. Mason in the corner. Look to send it across. It's not going to be able to find its mark. Oh, no. Mason, not like this. Mason, not like this. Oh, no. But with a missed shot from the only one, though, that should be enough of an input to get them stuck out of their loop in the corner on defense. Although maybe not. Now at this point, the only one, while waiting to approach the ball, this is just more time that continues to dwindle away. And I think Mason Bot caught in a loop, both metaphorically, figuratively, and quite literally out on the pitch, down on the offensive side. It's now 8-0. The only one wins the kickoff here. Is that slide away in? No, that's wide. Mason Bot will at least be able to find a clear. Alleviates a little bit of the pressure. But we haven't seen Mason Bot be able to cut these angles since their last series here on stream. Mason Bot? Okay. 9-0 here off of the back of that goal, and I think that now officially makes it a 20-piece. I think Mason Bot is doing like punishment sprints for themselves between two boost pads. I'm not really sure. But while the only one might have needed to scratch and claw their way to get into the grand finals, the grand finals, they've been able to kick it into high gear and cruise. 9 goals in that last game, off of the back of 13 shots. And I'm trying to think, is that our first shutout, chat? It's at least our first shutout with that high of a score. That I do know. 9-0 is kind of wild. 20-0 overall in the series. Also kind of wild. And it's crazy to think that we could very well be coming down the home stretch and into our last game of the series, our last game of the day. Over here as far as for our inaugural Skillquest Spring Classroom Clash, presented by NASIF and powered by League OS. We gotta see if Mason Bot has what it takes to turn things around. And if it's your first time through, or maybe you've trickled in as it has, we have been here live for a while, creeping in on that 3.5-hour mark. Maybe you're curious what NASIF is. NASIF equips education, community, and industry leaders to maximize the potential of scholastic esports. As we do see, hold on, Mason Bot finds their first goal. 20 goals in a row from the only one through games 1 and 2, and the first one in game 3 is Mason Bot. But as a nonprofit, NASIF supports leaders and youth. Excuse me. As a nonprofit, NASIF supports youth. Excuse me. Sorry, chat. As a nonprofit, let me try that one more time. As a nonprofit, NASIF supports leaders and youth to develop career and professional skills through a unique blend of play and learning. Part of the reason why we've got them being able to learn to code a bot in a game like Rocket League here. And it's been a fun day. Honestly, I have really enjoyed seeing the different approach that our different students have had. Whether it's been some bots being more defensive mindset, some bots being more offensive mindset. Honestly, it's been a lot of fun. This has been our lowest scoring affair thus far. And the one and only, a quick pivot. Pivot. Able to fire a shot on a target, and that's going to tire things up. Tied up 1-1. I can't help but wonder if that's maybe the turn of the tide. The only one. Hold on, that's an awkward touch. It puts it towards their net, and then it prioritizes boost over ball, which means they're now leaving away from the net, and that's an awkward touch from, Mason Bot, saving their own shot. Not like this. And now it's going the opposite way. Is that on target? No, it's not going to be the only one. That will be just a tad bit wide. You angle this shot. No, that one will ring just off of the post on the opposite side. Yeah, again, going back to just, really seeing the design of these different bots over the course of the day, it's been a lot of fun. You got to keep in mind, right? The students coming out of this course, they're going to know the basic skills of how to build using Python, and they're going to be like fully prepared to learn the specific skills of building within like any of the disciplines of like engineering, data science, machine learning, cybersecurity. And who definitely seems to have a good grasp of that? It's our student who has put together the only one, man. Looking to break out the sweep here in the grand finals. 2 minutes and 22 seconds left. As there is still a chance. As Mason Bot off of the kickoff is going to be able to punch this one home. And just like that, we're going to be tied up at 2. But yeah, I mean, these students, you know, by the time the bot submitted, the player will have gone from, I mean, basically no knowledge of Python. Remember, this is basically these students' first look at it here in this court. It's, you know, one of the world's most valuable programming languages. I mean, over 40% of new code is written in Python, right? So, really cool for our students to be able to acquire a good target like this one. 2 bots both finding circles, but it will be eventually the only one who breaks away from theirs first. Able to deliver a dagger. It was trying to make the adjustment to find the big pad. Couldn't do so in time. Now it's 1:53 to see if Mason Bot can find 1 to tie things up. Will they need 2? Well, at least not yet. Still a 1-goal ball game. The only one going to prevent that one from advancing quickly into the orange half. As it's Mason Bot off of the side wall. 1 tap looking towards the net. Where's the defensive closeout here? It's interesting because you see the only one get down to about here. I wonder if the input thought that maybe that ball was going to get pinched up against the post. So the bot decided not to play it at all, but instead what it does, it gives Mason Bot a chance to be able to push one across the goal line. Now with 75 seconds, we are knotted up once more, this time at 3. The only one with a clear here. Second touch looking towards the net, but that one will ring wide. Where's our defense, though? Mason Bot? Is Mason Bot caught in that loop down here on this other side again? I'm not sure. Here's going to be the turnaround from the only one. There's the shot. And Mason Bot picking flowers off in left field, I suppose. Can't find him anywhere. That's going to be another free goal for the only one, as they will now put themselves up by 1. With 48 seconds left to play. He'll be the only one. Still has a chance at it. But is now going to have to find yet another goal, because Mason Bot, off of the kickoff, picks this thing up off of their hood. And with no resistance, just guides it simply across the goal line. There's Mason Bot. They were scoreless through 2 games. They are now in the thick of it. Oh no. But now I've got concerns. Because Mason Bot, back to doing their donuts. Donuts. That means that there's no one on defense, and it's the only one who just simply has to tap it in. And with 11 seconds left, they now have a 1-goal lead. Is that how this ends? Or is there a chance for Mason Bot off of the kickoff? No, Mason Bot can't control it there. Can you field it here? No, it goes to the sidewall. And while it started with 128 bots cut down to 16 to go into today for playoffs. There can only be one, and that is the only one. Version 2, of course. Able to punch things across with a big sweep here in the grand finals. And man, what a fun day that this has been. We appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in with us over here at League OS as we did power the inaugural Skillquest Spring Classroom Clash over here that was prevented by NASIF. And if we, again, had people who maybe trickled in and are a little confused about as far as, maybe like what NASIF is or why NASIF, right? NASIF, basically, they equip education, community, and industry leaders to maximize the potential of scholastic esports. As a nonprofit, NASIF supports leaders and youth to develop career and professional skills throughout a unique blend of play and learning, using its research back-end approach. And NASIF guides organizations around the world striving to make impacts through scholastic esports as well. I got to be honest, this has been a heck of a fun day. I mean, these are students who, just a matter of a couple of months ago, had no idea about, programming and things of the like. And they have spent a couple of months starting off with just learning how to teach a car how to drive forward. And we saw cars taking aerials, being able to play great defense. We even saw a couple of cool kickoff strategies as well. This has been a heck of a day. We definitely appreciate you guys, but this isn't our last one. We do actually have our Skillquest Classroom Clash Finals that will be going on in a little less than a month. May 23rd is the date of that. Signups end on the 18th, so you have a little bit less than a month, and you do have the ability between now and then for our students who have, inserted their bots into our competitions today to be able to make some adjustments. So, maybe as far as for thinking of players like Mason Bot, try and figure out what it was that was getting them caught in that awkward loop on the far side of the field, which left them open for some counterattacks. But big shout out to all of our students, man. This is, again, so cool to be able to program and work on something like this within esports where it's not playing, but working on programming and things like that. Honestly, so cool. I mean, you got to think about how many things in the world have to be programmed, right? So our students here walk away with a very cool skill set. I mean, Skillquest's mission is to inspire the next generation into tech with fun courses around their favorite passion of gaming. We got to enjoy that here today. I thank you for tuning in with us. If it's your first time through, again, make sure you hit that follow button down below. Turn those notifications on. Jump up in the Discord. Get involved, as well as you get involved over on the Discords. Over in Discord as well. Big shout out to our producer in the back, our admins who help make sure everything goes along as well, to put on an awesome program here. And until we do get you back for that next one, man, don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love hard. All right, y'all? It's your boy Q from the rest of the crew here from the front to the back. Y'all have a great rest of your week. Peace.
I think esports, let me tell you right now, it's changed the culture of our school in terms of involving kids.
It's a good experience. It gets you to work as a team. It gives you a new family to be a part of.
For gaming, we always see it as like a hobby or things like that, but now it's like there's career opportunities.
We need to reach all the students. We need to give them opportunities. These kids need the opportunity. They just want to jump right in, and they just want to play, and we just need to give them that space, and administrators need to give them that opportunity like ours has.
If you're a school administrator and you come to this today and watch the kids and watch everybody excited, I don't know why you would say no.